Chapter 993. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Zhou Chongyue was stunned. This child was actually from the Xianyuan family. Then it wasn't strange that he lost to him. No, it was still strange. Firstly, this child was too young. He looked like he was only 12 or 13 years old. Secondly, he had never heard of such a powerful young general from the Xianyuan family. There was a reason for this. He had always been in Zhao country, and had only entered the Black Wind camp this year. Although he was a direct descendant of the Xianyuan family, Xianyuan Qi didn't give him any special treatment. He started from the lowest cavalry. He was assigned to Li Shun's command and had always listened to Li Shun's orders to charge and break through enemy lines. This was the first time he had received command, and led troops to Cangzhou to provide support. Therefore, it wasn't strange that Zhou Chongyue had never heard of him. In fact, it wasn't just Zhou Chongyue, even Guomeng and the others were stunned. Xianyuan Qi was so strict with his child that it made one's hair stand on end. In order to prevent people from secretly taking care of him, he didn't even allow him to use his real name. He was still called Jing Kong in the army camp. Today, in order to intimidate this group of bastards, he revealed his identity. The effect was very good. Zhou Chongyue was stunned. The remaining 5,000 rebels were also stunned. For a moment, no one dared to charge forward. Zhou Chongyue dared to rebel because he had a strong heart. He quickly forced himself to recover from the shock. He looked at the young man who held him hostage with his red-tasseled spear. He clenched his teeth and said, "You're lying. I've never heard of such a person in the Xianyuan family. You think I'll be afraid of you just because you're pretending to be from the Xianyuan family?" His words were sonorous and powerful. They were not only for himself, but also to reinvigorate the morale of his troops. As expected, when the rebels heard this, they gradually looked suspiciously at the silver-armored young man on the horse. Zhou Chongyue struck while the iron was hot and said coldly, "The Xianyuan family was destroyed many years ago. Only Marshal Xianyuan Qi and his son Xianyuan Zheng survived. Where did you come from, brat?" Actually, he had heard that the eldest son of the Xianyuan family had a child. However, the child rarely showed himself. There were many rumors about the child, especially in the Tsang prefecture. The child itself was a rumor. At this time, if he tried to defend himself, regardless of whether it was true or false, he would become the passive party. Guomeng looked worriedly at the silver-armored youth on horseback, worried that he would fall for Zhou Chongyue's provocation. However, the young man was not led by the nose by Zhou Chongshan. He looked coldly at his defeated opponent and said arrogantly, "I'll give you two choices. 1. Surrender. 2. Die. I'll count to 3. If you don't answer me, I'll take it that you've chosen the second option. 1. 2. Just as he was about to count to 3, Zhou Chongyue grabbed a handful of snow from the ground and threw it at Xianyuan Qi. Almost at the same time, the expert hiding behind Xianyuan Qi leaped into the air, his hands clenching his scimitar as he launched a sneak attack on Xianyuan Qi. "Be careful." Guomeng was facing Xianyuan Qi and saw the sneak attack from Xianyuan Qi's back clearly. However, he was too far away and injured to block it in time. The corners of Xianyuan Qi's lips curled up slightly. Insignificant skill. His spear was like a dragon spinning above his head. Without turning his head, he coldly pierced the expert's heart. As for the snow that Zhou Chongyue had thrown, it was blown away by the warhorse under the young man before it could reach half of the ground. Zhou Chongyue's body trembled. F***ck. This horse can blow snow. 3. Xianyuan Qi finished counting. He looked calmly at the stunned Zhou Chongyue. "Looks like you've chosen the second option." "No. I didn't even have time to say." The long spear gleaming with cold light fell, and the head of the rebel leader rolled to the feet of an archer. The archer was paralyzed with fear. Everyone shuddered. "Reporting for General Zhou," someone in the crowd shouted. Unfortunately, before he could finish, a bugle horn sounded not far away, and countless horses galloped over. One of the cavalrymen rushed at the front, carrying a flying eagle banner on his shoulder that fluttered in the wind and snow. That was the Xian Yuan family's commander's flag. The Xian Yuan family's cavalry had really come. The young man who killed Zhou Chongyue was not lying. He was from the Xian Yuan family. With the death of their leader and the arrival of imperial reinforcements, the rebel army's morale had plummeted. It was hard to remember who was the first to escape. In short, before the Xian Yuan family's cavalry flattened the mountain, all the rebels had fled. Guomeng let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness the Black Wind cavalry had arrived just in time. Just as he was about to witness the Black Wind cavalry's heroism, he saw a familiar face. The one carrying the commander's flag. Yes, I'm talking about you. Aren't you Erdan? Erdan was one of Guomeng's lieutenants. His surname was Zhang Minghuan, and Erdan was his nickname. Guomeng rubbed his eyes, thinking that he was seeing things. At this time, all the riders who had been shouting to charge and break through the enemy's lines had charged forward. However, he was completely dumbfounded. How were these the Black Wind cavalry of the Xian Yuan family? They were the remnants of the soldiers he had left in the camp. He turned to look at Xian Yuanshi in a daze. My lord, what's going on? He did not know Xian Yuanshi's official position, but judging from his majestic appearance, it should be above his own. Xian Yuanshi wiped his red-tasseled spear with a handkerchief and said calmly, "Oh, I borrowed your men." "Where are your men?" Guomeng asked. "Just me," Xian Yuanshi said. Guomeng staggered and almost fell. What do you mean just you? The imperial court only sent you as reinforcements?" "No, they sent quite a few, but they were all blocked by the snow. Only he and little Shi had rushed over." Guomeng swallowed and mustered up his courage to ask, "May I ask how many reinforcements the imperial court sent?" 200, Xian Yuanshi said. Guomeng was dumbfounded. Only 200? That's not enough. It'll take at least 10 or 20,000. Xian Yuanshi put away his red-tasseled spear and looked at him strangely. "Why do you need 10 or 20,000 soldiers to escort the supplies?" Guomeng was deeply shocked. "You are actually just an escort for the supplies? Did the rebel army know that they were being played by a small group of cavalrymen transporting supplies? May I ask from whom did you learn this skill of bluffing?" Guomeng suddenly thought of an important question. "Don't tell me your identity as a member of the Xian Yuan family is also." "My identity is real," Xian Yuanshi said. "I am indeed a member of the Xian Yuan family." After he finished speaking, he turned to look at the remaining soldiers who were waiting for orders and frowned. "What are you still standing there for? Take it." Guomeng was speechless. Under Xian Yuanshi's leadership, the remaining soldiers of Tsang province plundered the rebel army's camp clean, leaving not a single grain of rice or thread behind. That night, the Tsang province army, who had been starving for many days, finally had a full meal. Although Zhou Chongyue was dead, his son was still alive, and so were the 20,000 soldiers of the rebel army. The weather was still bad, and the reinforcements from Yinzhou could not arrive. The Tsang province army only had 3,000 soldiers left, but only 2,000 could fight. Guomeng's suggestion was to defend. "We've taken some supplies. We can defend until the Yinzhou army arrives." Xian Yuanshi did not agree with this idea. First, they did not know how long the weather would last, and the supplies would run out one day. Second, there were too many injured soldiers. They had to quickly take back the city and let the injured soldiers in for treatment. He said seriously, "For a hot-blooded soldier, the saddest thing is not dying on the battlefield, but dying of illness in the barracks." Guomeng was stunned. He did not expect a 12 or 13-year-old boy to say something like this. Had he also experienced death and pain? Otherwise, why would he have such feelings? He would rather die in battle than die of illness. In the end, Guomeng agreed to Xian Yuanshi's plan. 3 days later, Xian Yuanshi led 2,000 soldiers of Tsang province to attack the rebel army's right wing. The rebel army had never seen the real Black Wind cavalry, but Xian Yuanshi's reputation had already spread. Coupled with the Xian Yuan family's flag, all of the rebel army thought that the ones attacking them were the Xian Yuan cavalry. The rebel army's morale was low, and Xian Yuanshi led the Tsang province army to attack the main commander's camp, scattering the 20,000 soldiers. Xianyuan she first caught the least number of soldiers and chased after them. The rebel army had no power to fight back. 2 hours later, Xianyuan she beheaded Zhou Chongyue's youngest son, Zhou Fengdong. 3 days later, Xianyuan she captured Zhou Chongyue's third son, Zhou Fengqiu. On the 7th day, Xianyuan she seriously injured Zhou Chongyue's second son, Zhou Fengxia. That night, Zhou Chongyue's eldest son, Zhou Fengchun surrendered. In just 7 days, 2,000 soldiers defeated Zhou Chongyue's 20,000 rebel army, ending a year of civil strife in the southwest. Xianyuan she could be said to have become famous in one battle. When Shang Guanyan received the news of victory from the southwest, he was overjoyed. Without waiting for Xianyuan she to return to court, he directly issued an imperial edict to the whole world, conferring Xianyuan she as the first marquis champion in the history of Yan Kingdom. A 13-year-old marquis, within the 6 countries, there was no one like him. Digression. The next chapter is going back to see Jiao Jiao guess if Jiao Jiao and Aheng had a second child? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1041140303. HTML Genius remembered this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 994. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are available here. For the time being, Xianyuan she did not know that he had been conferred the title of Marquis Champion. The civil strife in the southwest had been quelled, and he was preparing to return. Before leaving, he arrived at Sima Slope. Riding Little Shi, he stood on a high slope and gazed into the vast expanse of whiteness in the distance. Guomeng urged his horse to follow beside him. Seeing that he did not speak for a long time, Guomeng felt sure he could not figure out what he was thinking. After these days of contact, Guomeng had a whole new level of respect for this youth who was even younger than his own son. He had the frivolity and hot-bloodedness of a youth, but not the impulsiveness and naivety of a youth. He was brave and resourceful, and his temperament was steady. Guomeng often sighed with emotion. This youth seemed to be born for the battlefield. The cold wind whistled, and Guomeng felt a trace of coldness. He looked at the youth with cracked lips and firm eyes, and finally opened his mouth to ask, "Sir, what are you looking at?" "Xianyuan," she said, "the mountains and rivers of the Yan Kingdom." Guomeng thought for a moment, then asked, "Then what do you see?" "Xianyuan," she said indifferently, "the Liang Kingdom is asking for a beating." Guomeng did not understand. How did the Liang Kingdom suddenly get involved? The topic had gone off the rails a bit too quickly. Xianyuan she was not stingy with his answer. Where did the rebel army's armor and weapons come from? Where did the money to raise the army come from? Zhou Chongyue is only a martial artist. How could he have such great ability? Guomeng's expression changed. "You mean the Liang Kingdom is behind the chaos in the southwest?" A withered leaf flew over, and gently landed in Xianyuan she's palm. Xianyuan she clenched his fist, his eyes cold. "The Liang Kingdom." He released his hand, and the withered leaf turned into fine powder, which was blown away by the wind into the snow. The chaos in the southwest had come to an end, and Xianyuan she set out to return to the capital. "The road is still closed. Would you like to return a few days later?" Guomeng tried to persuade him. No need. He had to rush back to spend the new year with Jiao Jiao. He nimbly mounted his horse. His silver armor and red cape fluttered in the wind behind him. He looked valiant and very handsome. Guomeng was stunned. This child was simply too good-looking. Of course, when it came to killing the enemy, they were not merciful at all. It was hard to imagine that such a handsome young man was the little killing god who had struck fear into the hearts of all the rebels on the battlefield a few days ago. Goodbye, General Gua. The young man patted the warhorse's neck and said with a smile, "There are only 13 days left. Little Shi, I'm counting on you." The adult horse king raised its front hooves and tightened its muscles. It cracked open its mouth as if it was laughing wildly. "I'm coming." All the horses in the barracks were knocked over by him. Like an arrow leaving the bow, it rushed into the endless wind and snow. A man, an eagle, and a horse braved the biting cold wind and snow. They crossed mountains, cities, and forests in this extremely cold world. Finally, they arrived at Chengdu on New Year's Eve. The snow in Chengdu was also very heavy, but there was no wind today. The goose feather-like snow fell quietly. There were no pedestrians on the street, and the shops were closed. The whole street could only hear the rapid sound of horse hooves, and the loud cry of the eagle hovering high in the sky. Xianyuan, she had not seen Jiao for a year. He missed her so much that his heart ached. He could not wait to return to her side. Little Shi. He pulled the reins tightly. The horse king and the young man on the horse grew up together. They had a tacit understanding and increased the speed of the horse. The horse king actually wanted to go back earlier. Human cubs were good, but it was troublesome to walk them. This time, it had slipped away for a year. It really did not want to slip away again. It wanted to go back to Jiao. This year, Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng took the children to celebrate the new year in the Yan Kingdom. First, they wanted to visit Dukan and Shangguanyan. Second, the situation in the Yan Kingdom was tense. Xianyuan Qi had been guarding the border for 2 years and had not returned to the capital. Gu Jiao may go to the battlefield. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law strolled in the imperial garden wrapped in silver. From time to time, the children's laughter could be heard from behind the flowers in front of them. They were innocent and carefree. Shangguanyan's eyes flashed with a trace of tenderness. The longer she was the emperor, the stronger her fierce aura was. The palace servants rarely saw her soft side. Shangguanyan said with emotion, "Jing Kong has made a great contribution to the civil strife in the southwest. Do you know that he asked to go to the southwest? He said that if he did not go, you would go." Gu Jiao's expression froze. Shangguanyan sighed. "He said that you don't need to fight anymore in the future. He will fight all the battles. He told me and the Grand Marshal not to tell you any military information. It's enough to tell him. He will definitely win, he promises." Gu Jiao's heart seemed to be hit hard by something. She suddenly remembered what Jing Kong said to her when he first came to her home. "Jiao, you are very powerful. I also want to be very powerful. More powerful than Jiao. Then Jiao won't need to be powerful." She was puzzled. The 3-year-old little Jing Kong looked up. His clear eyes without a trace of impurities looked into her eyes. "Jiao must be very hard, right? Master said that powerful people have suffered a lot, and will continue to suffer a lot in the future. Because powerful people are destined to go up the mountain. Going up the mountain is very hard. Going down the mountain is more comfortable. Jiao, wait for me to grow up. When I grow up, I will carry you up the mountain." If powerful people have to go up the mountain, then he will carry Jiao up the mountain. Jiao doesn't need to walk. Jiao's hardships, he will bear them. At that time, Gu Jiao didn't quite understand what a 3-year-old squishy ball meant by going up and down the mountain. She only gradually understood later. She also finally understood why he suddenly joined the army when he was 12 years old. He gave up the civil service and joined the military, not because he was unlucky and lost confidence in the imperial examination, but because he wanted to go to war for her, to establish a heart for heaven and earth, to establish a life for the people, to inherit the lost knowledge of the past, and to create peace for all ages. She didn't have time to teach him these. His mind was very simple. He just wanted to give her a golden age of peace. "He didn't tell me when he left," she whispered. "If he had told you, you wouldn't have let him go." Shangguanyan said, looked at Gu Jiao, and said, "The war in the southwest is over. Jing Kong will come back soon. He will be very happy to see you." Gu Jiao nodded. She missed Jing Kong. She missed him very much. In addition, Shangguanyan paused. the situation of the 6 countries may change again. Since the last war against Jin, the 6 countries had been at peace for several years. But not long ago, this delicate balance was broken. Shang Guanyin proposed to build a water transportation system for the 6 countries, but it was opposed by all the countries. The reasons were strange. They didn't want to destroy the geomancy of their country, or they didn't want to waste money. However, the reason was actually because of an island called Baoshan. Baoshan Island was located in Jin, the territory of Jin. When Jin was defeated, they ceded a lot of cities to seek peace, including Baoshan Island. However, Baoshan Island was a deserted island. No one took a fancy to it, so Yan Kingdom took it. Who would have thought that the people who reclaimed the island would find a gold mine on the island? The other countries were unbalanced. They all thought that Yan Kingdom deliberately concealed the mineral vein, making everyone mistakenly think that it was a deserted island. Now all the countries wanted a share of the pie. But this was impossible. Shang Guanyin would never give in. However, this was not the only reason for the tension in the 6 countries. There was another major reason: the Turks. The Turks had changed. The Turks were originally separated from Jin. There were a total of 13 tribes. Over the years, the major tribes were in their own way, and there were constant disputes. It was not that no one tried to unify the 13 tribes, but no one had the means. But just 3 years ago, the weakest Turk tribe suddenly rose and annexed the other tribes one by one. In less than 3 years, they ruled the 13 tribes that had been separated for hundreds of years. 2 months ago, the Turkic Khaganate established their country and named it Wei. Whether the 6 countries recognized it or not, it was a country that started a new era. The Wei king did not claim the title of emperor for the time being, but only a king. He probably wants to wait for the envoys of the 6 countries to arrive there and witness his enthronement ceremony before officially ruling the world. Shang Guanyin said and took out an edict from her wide sleeve. This is a letter written by the king of Wei, inviting the royal family of each country to attend his enthronement ceremony. Gu Jiao took it. She couldn't understand Jin's language, so she asked, "Is mother going?" Shang Guanyin said. Qing said he wants to go, but I'm always a little worried, so I hope to find someone to accompany him. Let's see if it's you or uncle. Gu Jiao nodded. This was not a big problem. She could go. And Xin Yuanqi could also go. In addition, I want to remind you of one thing. Shang Guanyin said. What's the matter? Gu Jiao asked. Shang Guanyin frowned and said, rumor has it that the reason why the king of Wei can go from being the son of the weakest tribe leader to today is because he has a resourceful prime minister under him. Gu Jiao subconsciously asked, what's his surname? Shang Guanyin said, Lu. Digression. Today is also the day I want to get monthly votes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428286/1041085886. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile version reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 995. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Lu what? Gu Jiao asked. Shang Guanyin shook her head. I don't know much about the Wei country's prime minister. I only know that his surname is Lu, and he comes from a poor background. He came across the Wei country's prince by chance. Perhaps because they were in the same boat, they felt like old friends at first sight. Since then he has been working under the Wei country's prince. From an inconspicuous little strategist, he slowly became the Wei country's most powerful think tank. Gu Jiao's attention was on the poor background, and the poor background of the Wei country. The Wei country, she murmured thoughtfully. Could it be him? While she was thinking, the 5-year-old Xiao Yin ran over with her little brother, bold, sweating. The twins were very delicate. They were white and tender. When they smiled, they had a pair of small dimples. They were very cute. Xiao Yin raised her chubby little face and said with a smile, "Imperial grandmother, mother, Song, wants to play sleigh." The quiet little handsome boy Xiao Song's face darkened. "You want to play? Who likes that kind of childish thing? Go play," Gu Jiao said. Xiao Yin happily pulled Xiao Song away. Xiao Song, who was just a tool from beginning to end. The Yin country's imperial palace was very big. In order to let the two little guys play to their heart's content, Shang Guanyin didn't hesitate to tear down a garden and 2 palaces to make a super big ski resort near the imperial garden. The palace servant brought the light shui sleigh, made by Xiao Heng himself. Xiao Yin twisted her little butt and couldn't wait to sit on it. "What are you doing? Come on, little brother." She especially liked to call Xiao Song little brother. But in fact, Xiao Song never thought of himself as a little brother. Originally, he should have been the first to come out, but this girl kicked him aside and snatched the first place from him. So he was actually the older brother. Xiao Yin spread her hands and raised her eyebrows. "Are you afraid?" Xiao Song sat on it expressionlessly. The first place was taken by Xiao Yan. He sat behind Xiao Yan. He quietly pinched the corner of Xiao Yan's clothes. Xiao Yan tightened her grip on the reins and said proudly, "Don't tell me you secretly pinched my clothes again?" Xiao Song's expression froze, but his tone remained the same. "I'm afraid that you'll fall." Xiao Yan patted her chest and said crisply, "It's okay to be afraid. You're the younger brother. Big sister will protect you." Xiao Song, "Don't imitate your uncle." Xiao Yan smiled mischievously. "Sit tight. Wasn't it just a sleigh pulled by a few palace servants? It wasn't that fast either. Did they think that they couldn't sit properly?" Just as Xiao Song finished muttering to himself, he saw a black horse galloping over at lightning speed. It picked up the rope of the sled and galloped off. Xiao Song's face turned pale. Why was it little Shi? He didn't have time to jump off the sled or call for help. Little Shi was running too fast. As soon as he opened his mouth, he was blown into a little sad frog. Little Shi ran 3 laps before stopping. The twins' hair was blown into a chamate style. Xiao Yan was so excited that she clapped her hands. One more time. One more time. Xiao Song calmly got off the light shui and covered his chest with his hands. With a cold expression, he knelt down in the snow and vomited. On the other side, Xianyuan she finally saw Jiao Jiao, whom she had been longing for. Everything had changed over the years, but Jiao Jiao was still the same in his eyes. Gu Jiao Jiao was wearing a light green brocade cloak. The edge of her hat was inlaid with a circle of snow-white fur. When the wind blew, the fur swayed gently, making her skin look even more beautiful. "Jiao Jiao." He couldn't hide the excitement in his heart as he called out her name loudly. When Gu Jiao Jiao heard him, she immediately turned around and saw the travel-worn youth across the frozen lotus pond. A trace of surprise flashed through her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up. "Jing Kong." Xianyuan she used his qinggong and leaped into the air. He wanted to give Jiao Jiao a handsome and confident figure, so that Jiao Jiao would be immersed in his charm and be unable to extricate herself. At the same time, he wanted to prove to Jiao Jiao that he was no longer the little wrestling monk from before. The palace maids all screamed. Heavens! Which girl could resist such a beautiful youth falling from the sky? Gu Jiao Jiao also smiled as she looked at the youth flying towards her. Just as he was about to land, a crisp and demonic voice suddenly sounded from not far away. "Uncle Jing Kong." Ah! Xianyuanshi's breath stagnated, his body stiffened, and he fell from the air. It was neither close nor far, and he just happened to fall in front of Gu Jiao Jiao. His handsome face fell, and he fell flat on his face. Gu Jiao Jiao. Sheng Guanyan. All the palace mates. The culprit Xiao Yan ran over and squatted beside the Uncle Jing Kong. She tilted her head and looked at him curiously. 3 seconds later, she copied the same posture as the Uncle Jing Kong. She buried her face in the snow and positioned herself like a small horse. Everyone again. It was rare for him to act cool, but the result was that he fell like a toad. Xianyuan she wished that he could die on the spot. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth for 5 seconds before he calmly got up from the snow. Then he saw the little kid who imitated him. The young man's body trembled. No way. Did he fall so ugly? I want to die again. Gu Jiaojiao laughed. Xianyuan she looked at her laughing uncontrollably and scratched his head. Alright, if it could make Jiaojiao happy, it was worth it no matter how ugly the fall was. Xiaoyan was very dedicated. No one helped her up, so she kept her unconscious posture. Shang Guanyan was angry and amused. Get up! It was Xianyuan she who lifted her up. He didn't realize that the way he lifted Xiaoyan was exactly the same as the way Xiaoheng lifted him. Uncle Jingkong, I miss you so much. You've become more handsome. The way Xiaoyan flattered him was exactly the same as when he was a child. Family was really a wonderful pair of words. Jiaojiao, your majesty. He greeted Gu Jiaojiao and Shang Guanyan. Shang Guanyan nodded with relief. It's been hard on you. Did you get hurt? No. He shook his head decisively. Then he looked around. Huh? Why don't I see Tsong, and Xiaoxian? Xiaoyan sat on his arm and complained with an exaggerated expression. Little brother was sitting in the sleigh and was so scared that he vomited. Xiao Tsong, who was carried by a palace maid, had a dark face again. I got carsick and vomited. Xiaoxian was the second child of Gu Jiaojiao and Xiaoheng. He was also born in the 12th lunar month, and just celebrated his second birthday a few days ago. He was sleeping. Shang Guanyan knew that the siblings had a lot of intimate things to talk about since they just came back from Jingkong. She smiled and said, Xiaoxian should wake up. You can go and see him. Come to Fengqi Palace for dinner tonight. Okay. Gu Jiaojiao agreed. Shang Guanyan left with everyone. Xianyuan she put down Xiaoyan and cupped his hands to salute Shang Guanyan. Gu Jiaojiao stared at the handsome and well-educated young man in front of her, and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The little boy had really grown up. Xiaoyan could walk by herself. She walked in front of Xiaokong. Xiao Tsong was a little weak after vomiting. Gu Jiaojiao planned to take him from the palace maid. I'll do it. Xianyuan she said. He stretched out his slender arms and picked up the 5-year-old Xiaokong, uncle from Jingkong. Xiao Tsong weakly called out. He gently looked at the little guy in his arms. Don't talk. Gu Jiaojiao looked at him with a slight smile. You've grown taller. After a pause she said. You've become tanned. The first sentence was quite funny, but the second sentence made him stiff. The dark history of being tanned by his bad brother-in-law came to his mind. His expression changed and he began to look around. Gu Jiaojiao said. Your brother-in-law is not here. He went to repair the gun with your brother Qing. Xianyuan she coughed lightly. I didn't find a bad brother-in-law. Gu Jiaojiao smiled. Are you injured? She asked. I'm not injured. He said firmly. Gu Jiaojiao said. Okay, let me examine you later. He choked and his eyes flashed. No, I'm not a child. I can't show you. There were too many big and small injuries on his body. He didn't want her to see them. What's more, his injuries were nothing. No matter how many injuries he had, Jiaojiao's injuries would only be more serious than his. He hurriedly changed the topic. Is Xiaoxian's body better? It was strange. Xiaoxian was clearly a single fetus, and a full-term fetus, but his body was much weaker than a premature boy-girl fetus. Jingkong remembered that after the little guy was born, he was sick almost every month. During the confinement period, he lost weight instead of gaining weight. He had to drink so much medicine that his heart ached. Gu Jiaojiao paused and said, He's much better. While talking, the two came to the second prince's palace. Although Jingkong was a man with a different surname, Shang Guanyan had already decreed that he was allowed to live in the imperial palace. Therefore, no one dared to stop him. When the two were about to come to the door of the palace, they saw a silly little being cutely poking his head out. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www zhhbqg. com/89642_896422826/1040949999. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 996. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. The little boy stuck out half of his body and looked around. He had a round little head and wore a clean little monk's robe. A string of small Buddhist prayer beads hung around his neck. He held the door frame with one hand and held the string of small Buddhist prayer beads with the other. He looked very obedient and cute. Xianyuanxi, however, was stunned. Who is this? As soon as he finished speaking, the little boy saw Gu Jiao. He wanted to come out but held himself back. He clung to the door frame and called out in a childish voice, "Mother!" Xianyuanxi was petrified on the spot. This little monk couldn't be Xiaoxian? Xiaoxian became a monk. Gu Jiao saw his confusion. As she led him towards Xiaoxian, she explained, "Xiaoxian's body is weak, and he always falls sick every few days. Later, my mother carried Xiaoxian to the temple. The master in the temple said that he was fated with Buddha." Xianyuanxi was flabbergasted. And then he became a monk? Gu Jiao held little Xiaoxian's hand. "Well, you can say that. These clothes were worn by you when you were young. Princess Mother said that wearing old clothes is good luck and can let the child grow up safely." Xianyuanxi mumbled. No wonder it looks so familiar. When Xianyuanxi left home, Xiaoxian was only 1 year old. Now that a year had passed, Xiaoxian didn't remember him. Xiaoxian raised his round little head and looked at him curiously with his big black grape-like eyes. "Who are you?" Xianyuanxi pinched his little face. "I'm your uncle from Jingkong. Do you still remember me?" Little Xiaoxian shook his head very honestly. Xianyuanxi smiled. Xiao Tsong, who was lying in his arms, opened his eyes and glanced at his younger brother. "Tell your uncle in Jingkong what your name is." Little Xiaoxian nodded obediently and began to introduce himself in a childish voice. "My name is Xiaoxian, and my Dharma name is Xian. Xianyuanxi, you even have a Dharma name." Xiaoxian looked smaller and thinner than other children his age, but Xianyuanxi learned from Gu Jiao that he didn't get sick as easily as he did when he was 1 year old. Yao Shi and Princess Xianyang felt more and more that raising the little guy as a monk was the right choice. There was a precedent for this among the relatives they knew. Kuan Dao Yuan Baolin. Gu Jiao held little Xiaoxian's hand and walked in. Xianyuanxi looked at the 2-year-old boy who was struggling in the snow. He wanted to ask Jiao Jiao if he didn't want to hug him. Xiao Tsong said calmly, "Mother hugs you the most. She rarely hugs the 3 of us." Xianyuanxi was stunned. Gu Jiao gave her love for her eldest son to Jingkong without any reservation. At that time, she didn't know how to be a parent. She and Xiaoheng struggled to raise the little monk they brought back from the mountains. The little monk chased after her all day long, wanting to be her little tail. The little monk always sat on the doorstep and waited for her to come home no matter how late it was. The little monk would act spoiled and ask for kisses. He also liked to stay in her arms. It was her first time raising a child. She couldn't do anything about the clingy little monk. She could only spoil him. Fortunately, she didn't spoil him. The little monk who used to wrestle grew up to be an indomitable black wind rider. Xiao Tsong sighed like an adult. "Ah, I'm jealous." Xianyuanxi's eyes reddened. Heat waves rolled in his heart. "His Jiao Jiao," Xiao Tsong reminded him. "Uncle, you're hugging me too tightly. I can't breathe." Xiaoheng and Sheng Guanqing came back 2 hours later. His harem was getting bigger and bigger. After his first wife, he had 6 more concubines, all of whom had top-grade firearms. Today, his first wife's firearm was broken. It took a long time to fix it. The 2 brothers didn't know that they had come back from Jingkong. As they walked to the twins' bedroom, they said, "If Mother knows that you like firearms so much, she'll take them all away for you." Shang Guanqing said. Don't tell mother. Xiao Heng said with amusement. Mother asked me to ask you, are you satisfied with the daughters of the aristocratic families she picked for you last time? Shang Guanqing waved his hand carelessly. I'm not dissatisfied. If she likes them, she can put them in my backyard. Xiao Heng asked. Aren't you afraid that your backyard will catch fire? Shang Guanqing put a hand on his brother's shoulder and said cynically, Amen, you know. Xiao Heng firmly drew a line with him. I don't know. My love for Jiao Jiao is stronger than gold. Shang Guanqing hit the nail on the head. Gold is very soft. Xiao Heng. Shang Guanqing hadn't met his destined daughter yet. He was also very worried. It wasn't that he didn't like women, but he hadn't met anyone who moved him. What could he do? I've said it before. She has to be as good at martial arts as Jiao Jiao, as dignified and gentle as mother, and as humorous and witty as mother. Such a woman is my destiny. Xiao Heng glanced at him speechlessly. You can be single for the rest of your life. As the two brothers talked, Xiao Yan's voice came from the bedroom. She was patiently teaching her brother. What's 1 plus 1? 1, Xiao Xian said. Xiao Yan touched her forehead. I've taught you this many times. It's not 1, it's 2. Xiao Xian said. 2. Right. On the Kong bed in the warm room, Xiao Yan sat cross-legged opposite her brother. Say it again. What's 1 plus 1? Xiao Xian said. 1. Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. 1 times 1 equals 1. What's 2 plus 2? She took out 4 fingers and looked at little Xiao Xian with a mischievous gaze. Xiao Xian said. 2. Xiao Yan collapsed. Xiao Yan sat up and grabbed her clothes. She breathed in and out. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know how to do this, right? Xiao Xian nodded. Xiao Yan taught seriously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Xiao Xian answered seriously. Shang Mountain hit tiger, head axe, tiger. Xiao Yan spat out 180 degrees of blood on the spot. After spitting out the non-existent blood, she fell backwards. Her small body sprawled out on the heated bed. Next door, Gu Jiao had just finished examining Xiaozong's body. He only had simple motion sickness, and would be fine after a day or 2 of rest. She asked the nanny to take Xiaozong out. Xianyuan she also planned to go out. Sit down, Gu Jiao said. Xianyuan she scratched his head and smiled. I really don't need it. I didn't vomit. Gu Jiao pressed him down on the chair. The white light from the window shone on the youth's handsome face. He blushed a little, and his ears were visibly red. I'm really fine, he said. Gu Jiao took his pulse and asked seriously, Where are you hurt? No. He subconsciously retorted. He thought of something and his eyes flashed. He raised his left wrist and said, Are you talking about this? Gu Jiao lifted his sleeve slightly, revealing a red and swollen bruise. He said carelessly, I didn't hold the red tasseled spear properly that day and accidentally twisted it. In the past, he would sit on the threshold and wait to show her his small injury. He would even save his tears for her to see when she came back. Now he was covered in bruises and refused to say a word. Let me do it. Xiao Heng's voice suddenly appeared at the door. The two of them looked at him in unison. You're back, Gu Jiao said. Xiao Heng nodded and stepped into the room. He looked at the medicine box on the table and said to Gu Jiao, There are couplets outside. Do you want to take a look? Okay. Gu Jiao left the medicine box and turned to leave the room. Xianyuan she pursed his lips reluctantly. What? I just said a few words to Jiao Jiao. Bad brother-in-law. When Xiao Heng saw him at the door, he didn't dare to recognize him. He hadn't seen him for a year, and he had grown taller and more mature. He was no longer that immature child. He had the heroic spirit of a soldier and the murderous aura that came from the battlefield. But when he spoke, Xiao Heng was sure that he was still the little monk who fought with him in a battle of wits and courage. Xiao Heng said to him, Okay, Jiao Jiao is gone. There's nothing to hide. Take off your clothes. Xianyuan she vigilantly crossed his arms. What are you doing? Xiao Heng picked up the medicine on the table and said lightly, If I don't finish this medicine for you, I won't be able to help you if Jiao Jiao asks. Xianyuan she chose between letting Jiao Jiao worry, or letting his bad brother-in-law worry. Then keep it a secret for me. Don't tell Jiao Jiao. Got it. He unbuttoned his clothes, revealing the mottled scars all over his body. When he was a child, Xiaoheng bathed him. Xiaoheng knew exactly where he had pockmarks on his body. Xiaoheng knew that he would be injured, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. Although most of the scars had healed, he must have been in a lot of pain at the time. This was also a child that he had raised himself. You. Xiaoheng's throat swelled with pain. Xianyuan she pretended not to see his slightly red eyes. He turned his face and said, "Hurry up, I'm cold." The tip of his nose was also sore. It was strange. He didn't want to cry, but when his bad brother-in-law's eyes turned red, he couldn't help it. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/10408947. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikaga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 997. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Xiaoheng stayed in the room for half an hour before coming out. Just now, he deliberately gave Gu Jiao a reason to leave, not because Gu Jiao really wants to read the couplets. Sure enough, he went next door. Gu Jiao sat there motionless. That quiet look of hers made one's heart ache. Gu Jiao heard him push the door open. She got up and looked at him. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were worried. "How is Jing Kong?" Xiaoheng entered the room and put the empty bottle of medicine on the table. The answer was already obvious. Such a big bottle, their whole family can't use it in a year. It can be seen how many injuries Jing Kong has. Gu Jiao sullenly put her forehead on his tight chest. He raised his slender hand and gently rubbed her head. When she was depressed, he always comforted her like this. Xiaoheng whispered, "Don't be too sad. I looked carefully, his injuries are all healed." He can calmly explain to her. Just now in the room, he almost couldn't hold it in several times. Fortunately, his embarrassing appearance was not seen by Jiao Jiao, otherwise, he will have no face to see people in the future. She whispered, "He used to have acne. I didn't even want him to leave a small pockmark, so I wrapped his little hand. He sneaked out to scratch himself, and was caught red-handed by Gu Chongqing. Now that he has so many scars on his body, her heart must be in pain. Also, he would even tell me when he hurt his finger by hitting walnuts." Xiaoheng doesn't know how to comfort her. Boys are like this. When they are young, they always stick to their mother. But as they slowly grow up, some words, some things can only be known by their father. Probably, this is the price of growing up. It's the child's protection of his mother. Dinner was placed in Shangguan Yan's room. Because Xiao Tsong just vomited, his body hasn't recovered, so someone has to carry him. Xiaoheng has already carried Xiao Yan and little Xiao Xian. So Gu Jiao went to carry Xiao Kong. But how can Xianyuan she let Jiao Jiao be tired? He had to be the one to carry the baby. Xianyuan she decisively took Xiao Kong. Xiao Tsong sat in his arms with a dark face. "Uncle, can you be a human?" Tonight was the New Year's Eve dinner. Dukan was invited to the palace, and so was Feng Wuxiu. Feng Wuxiu was rather confused. Why would they invite him or his brother to the reunion dinner in the palace every time? However, if the food made by the imperial chef was delicious, he would be happy to come. Xianyuan Qi, Liao Chen, and priest Qingfeng were all stationed at the border, and could not return to the capital. During dinner, Xianyuan she finally found out that he has been conferred a marquis. To be honest, he doesn't care much about official positions. He didn't go to war to become an official. However, if he can show off to his bad brother-in-law, then he will be very happy. He picked up some vegetables with his chopsticks and said in an accent, some people are only the top scorer at 19 years old, but some people are already marquises at 13 years old. At the table, except for Xiao Yan and little Xiao Xian who didn't understand, everyone's mouth twitched. The familiar recipe, the familiar taste, that arrogant little monk is back. But what kind of Versailles is this? Only the top scorer at 19 years old? How do you want other top scorers to live? Also, should I remind you that your bad brother-in-law is the young chancellor of the Imperial College at 13 years old? The ceiling of one civil and one martial arts is taken down by the two of you. Xianyuan, she raised his chin and snorted. I don't care. In any case, I am better than my bad brother-in-law. Xiaoheng picked up a piece of freshly deboned fish for him. Eat your food. Xianyuan, she didn't feel like eating meat when he was 10 years old. In the beginning, he could only drink a bit of meat soup. Later on, he gradually ate a bit of small fish and shrimp. Now he can also eat a bit of lean meat. He just can't eat too much. Xianyuan, she snorted and began to eat heartily. At this time, he was a carefree child again. New Year's Eve was also Xiaoheng and Xianyuan's birthday. The Imperial Kitchen made longevity noodles for the two, and Xianyuan, she finished it all in one gulp. He never went hungry at home, but on the battlefield, he went hungry every few days. This caused everything he ate to be especially delicious. The adults at the table saw him like this and couldn't help but feel some heartache. Dukan smiled and tried to smooth things over. I almost forgot to give you a present. Xianyuan, she took his head out of the bowl of noodles. Oh, there's a present? For me? Dukan smiled. You and Ahing both get one. Everyone gave Xiaoheng books, antiques, calligraphy, and paintings as gifts. The gifts for Xianyuan, she were much more varied. Gu Jiao gave him a newly made 9-section whip. Gu Xiaoshan also designed a hidden weapon on the whip. It could be used to attack, defend, and sneak attack. Xianyuan, she went outside to try it out. The weight and length were just right, and the flexibility was perfect. He liked it very much. He tied the whip to his waist and returned to his seat. He asked Xiaoheng, Brother-in-law, what do you have for me? Xiaoheng said indifferently, No, I didn't know you were coming back. Just as he said this, there was a sudden whoosh from outside the hall. Immediately after, golden fireworks bloomed in the endless sky. Fireworks. Xianyuan, she's eyes widened, and he dashed out with a whoosh. Xiaoyan was extremely anxious. I also want to see. I also want to see. I also want to see. The doors and windows were wide open. The position of the reunion dinner was excellent. The angle of the fireworks was also carefully calculated. Sitting down, one could watch the fireworks feast. But the fireworks were gorgeous, so everyone went to the small garden outside the hall. The colorful golden fireworks bloomed again and again. The entire night sky was lit up, and the whole palace witnessed this magnificent fireworks. Bang! 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 Xiaoyan was so excited that she cried out. So beautiful! So beautiful! The quiet and beautiful young man Xiao Tsong also felt that tonight's fireworks were beautiful. Xiao Xian, who was only 2 years old, was scared by the explosion and hid in Shang Guanyan's arms. There were a total of 13 fireworks. Xianyuan, she looked up at the sky full of colorful lights. He was reluctant to blink. Gu Jiao came to his side at some unknown time. She also looked at the gorgeous fireworks and softly said, Your brother-in-law specially made it for you. Ha! He was startled. Gu Jiao said, When you came back from Liang State last year, didn't you say that Liang State's fireworks were beautiful? Your brother-in-law made it for you. He planned to show it to you on your 12th birthday, but you joined the army. Xiaoheng didn't say it, but he always remembered it in his heart. Jing Kong was a year older, so he made more fireworks. He just waited for Jing Kong to come back safely. Gu Jiao smiled and looked at him. Your brother-in-law loves you very much. Just like how he loved his eldest son, he was strict and picky. But if you want the stars, I will not hesitate to give you the whole galaxy. Xianyuan, she pulled his slightly red little ears, glanced at his bad brother-in-law who was also watching the fireworks not far away, and whispered, Jiao Jiao loves me the most. After watching the fireworks, Shang Guanqing brought the osmanthus wine brewed by the palace bartender. Xianyuan she drank wine for the first time in his life. Well, it was Shang Guanqing who made him drink. He perfectly inherited Gu Jiao's alcohol tolerance. He got drunk after 1 cup. Then he also perfectly inherited Gu Jiao's alcohol tolerance. He held the wine pot in one hand and staggered on the grass in the small garden with the other hand. He took a deep breath and began to sing. So what if the lyrics are worn out? Bones and ashes are all mine, duckweed in troubled times, enduring the fire of war to burn the mountains and rivers. Although I am humble, I dare not forget my country, even if no one knows me. He raised his right hand, turned his body, and said in a dramatic tone. The people below the stage pass by, can't see the old color. The people on the stage sing a heartbreaking farewell song. Love is hard to fall in ink, she sings. Blood is needed to make peace. The curtain rises, the curtain falls. She is finally a guest. The young man was thin and tall, and his face was as handsome as jade. He was a little tipsy and blurred after drinking. His cheeks were slightly flushed, and his singing was soul-stirring. He was indescribably handsome. Such a young man was truly captivating. The palace maids' hearts were thumping, and they all blushed unconsciously. Shang Guanqing was also drunk. He listened to the song while tapping on his leg. When the song ended, he raised the wine pot and shouted, "Good." Gu Jiao sat next to Xiao Heng and looked at the young man who looked like a banished immortal. She smiled and said, "So beautiful." Xiao Heng was speechless. "Wife, look at me." Xianyuan she drank 2 more mouthfuls, and was so drunk that he passed out. Xiao Heng came over and carried him back. "I can walk by myself." He waved his hand and refused. Xiao Heng looked at him with anger and amusement. "Walk a few steps for me to see." Xianyuan she was speechless. Xiao Heng carried him up. Xianyuan she lay on his back and squeezed his shoulder. He muttered, "Bad brother-in-law. Why do I feel that you have become smaller? You have grown up." How could he become smaller? An 8-year-old child and a 13-year-old child lying on the same back would naturally feel different. Xianyuan she was drunk, but he did not forget to ask worriedly, Can you carry me?" Xiao Heng carried him in the direction of the bedroom. "I'm only 27. I'm very young. Why can't I carry a 13-year-old child?" "Oh." Xianyuan she buried his face in his shoulder and said vaguely, "Then promise me. Don't get old. Yuan Jiaojiao. Don't get old." Xiao Heng smiled. "Okay, I won't get old." Xianyuan she hugged Xiao Heng's neck and muttered drunkenly, "It doesn't matter if I get old. You raise me when I'm young, and I'll raise you when you're old." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online are here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1040757778. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 998. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The 3 children were also tired from playing. Xiao Tsong was the first to fall asleep in Nguogong's arms. Little Xiao Xian, who was helped by Shang Guanyan, was also very sleepy. The little bald head was like a chicken pecking rice. Xiao Yan wanted to light a few more firecrackers, but unfortunately, she ran out of power. She dragged her small body weakly to Gu Jiao's side. At this moment, she really couldn't walk, so Gu Jiao picked her up. And Guogong warmly said, "Let's send the children back to sleep first. His Majesty should also rest." Shang Guanyan nodded her head and lovingly looked at Xiao Xian, who was sleeping soundly in her arms. She wrapped his cloak tightly. "It's cold, it's time to go back." In fact, the twins were usually very sturdy. They generally didn't get sick in the wind and rain. Only little Xiao Xian's body was weak, so she had to be careful at all times. Your Majesty, this old servant will do it. Wu Xixi wanted to take the child from Sheng Guanyan's arms and send him back to Xiaoheng and Gu Jiao's palace. The drunk Sheng Guanqing suddenly put down the wine pot and strode toward the two. Okay, I'll do it. You accompany my mother back. Sheng Guanyan looked at her son suspiciously. She was very worried that he would break her baby in his drunken state. Sheng Guanqing has the physique of a wine immortal. He gets drunk quickly and wakes up quickly. Otherwise, how could he single-handedly drink a large table of relatives and friends at Xiaoheng and Gu Jiao's wedding? Don't worry, I won't break him. I don't have an heir, so I'm counting on him to support me in the future. Sheng Guanyan glared at him fiercely. After the new year, you must choose a wife for me. Sheng Guanqing bitterly touched his nose. He drank too much and talked too much. Why didn't he mention that? He smiled and said, Good, choose, I choose. I'll listen to mother. I'm the most obedient. When Sheng Guanyan heard this, she knew that he was being perfunctory. She helplessly shook her head and said, I should knock you out with a stick and throw you into a ditch. Let's see if you have your brother's good luck, and be picked up by my daughter-in-law. Sheng Guanqing. Mother, you're not serious. With Xiao Tsong in his left hand and little Xiao Xian in his right, Sheng Guanqing sent them back to Zhaoyang Palace. Gu Jiao carried Xiao Yan and sent Dukin to the palace gate. Dukin could now move freely. He looked at Gu Jiao and the little fellow lying on her shoulder and sighed. I told you not to send them off, but you had to go so far in the wind. What if Yenner freezes? Xiao Yan opened one eyelid. Grandpa, I won't freeze. Dukin could not help but laugh. Xiao Yan had the strongest constitution among the three children, and she was also the most energetic one. She had never been sick since she was a child. However, he still didn't dare to be careless. That's all for now. I'm leaving. Grandpa, goodbye. Xiao Yan lay in her mother's arms and waved her small hand at him. Dukin smiled dotingly and turned to get on the carriage. Gu Jiao looked down at the little fellow in her arms. Okay, let's go back. Before she could finish her words, she saw Xiao Yan close her eyes and snore. She fell asleep in seconds. It's not easy to hold on until now. Gu Jiao curved her lips. Children are really fun. She carried Xiao Yan back to the palace. On the other side, Sheng Guanyan also returned to her palace. She sat in front of the dressing table, and the little palace maid came forward to untie her hair. She looked at herself in the bronze mirror and pressed her sore eyebrows. Wu Xixi considerately stepped forward and asked, Your Majesty, are you tired? Sheng Guanyan laughed and said, I'm getting old. I can't be compared to when I was young. I remember when I was in the imperial tomb, Qing, or always tried to find ways to stay up until the morning of the first day of the new year. Wu Xixi busily said, Look at what you said, how old are you? Although you are over 40 years old, Your Majesty was born with a superior physique. You don't look old at all. Instead, you look very charming. Although your eyes are sharp, they are clean and clear. Sheng Guanyan smiled. As an emperor who holds the power of life and death, she doesn't care about her appearance. Wu Xixi wanted to say something but hesitated. What's wrong? She saw Wu Xixi's expression from the bronze mirror. Wu Xixi smiled and looked at the little palace maid who was untying Sheng Guanyan's hair. He said, This slave will do it. Sheng Guanyan faintly raised her hand. The little palace maid understood and tactfully retreated. Wu Xixi took the pearl hairpin from Sheng Guanyan's bun and said with a dry smile, Yin Shanjun sent another New Year gift. Does Your Majesty want to take a look? In fact, as early as the year when Sheng Guanyan ascended the throne, Yin Shanjun asked to remove his royal status. The memorial was suppressed in the cabinet for several years, but Sheng Guanyan never allowed it. As for why it was not allowed, outsiders didn't know the inside story. But as Sheng Guanyan's confidant, Wu Xixi more or less knew a thing or two. This Yin Shanjun was not a member of the great Yin imperial family. He was the child of the former Empress Dowager and the Tujue. The former Empress Dowager was not the retired emperor's biological mother. Therefore, he and His Majesty were not related by blood. For the first 2 years he didn't understand Yin Shanjun's thoughts. He thought that he was taking into account the relationship between uncle and nephew since childhood, so he often sent letters and gifts. Until one time, he accidentally bumped into Yen Shanjun, who came to the imperial palace to visit His Majesty. Yen Shanjun put His Majesty on the desk and deeply stared at His Majesty, saying, "Shangguan Yen, I told you, when we meet again, I will not be your imperial uncle." My goodness, he only hated that he was not blind and deaf. If he bumped into this, he was afraid that he would be silenced. Fortunately, His Majesty was merciful and didn't mention killing him. His Majesty later pushed Yen Shanjun away. As for whether it was because he disturbed him or His Majesty didn't have any interest in Yen Shanjun, he didn't know. "No need, put it in the warehouse," Shangguan Yen lightly said. Wu Cixi opened his mouth. "Ah, this," Shangguan Yen coldly looked at him from the bronze mirror. "What this? If I tell you to do it, then do it." While Wu Cixi was worried about what to do, Shangguan Qing came. Wu Cixi felt as if he had been granted amnesty. Shangguan Qing stepped inside. "I'll talk to my mother for a while. You go and get me a bowl of hangover soup." "Yes. Yes." Wu Cixi hurriedly retreated. No one helped her with her hair, so Shangguan Yen had to do it herself. Shangguan Qing pulled a stool with his foot and sat down beside her. He tilted his head and looked at her with a smile. "My mother is beautiful. Those women outside can't be compared to her," Shangguan Yen lightly said. "Do I need you to say that?" Shangguan Qing curled his lips. "Well, you're quite good at it." "Song. And the others are asleep?" Shangguan Yen took off the hair clip on her head. Shangguan Qing hummed. Shangguan Yen said, "Then why did you come to my palace in the middle of the night? Did you drink too much and went to the wrong palace?" Shangguan Qing bluntly said, "I heard that Yen Shanjun gave you a New Year gift again. I want to see it." Shangguan Yen calmly said, "If you want to see it, go see it yourself." Shangguan Qing suddenly changed the topic. "He's a nice guy." Shangguan Yan's action of removing the earrings paused. She looked at her son from the bronze mirror. Shangguan Qing was bowing his head and admiring his new official boots. She didn't ask Shangguan Qing how he knew. Shangguan Qing looked unreliable, but he was actually very clever. Many things can't be hidden from him. "Are you worried that I won't be willing to find a stepfather for me?" "No, I'm already so old. Having a stepfather won't affect me much. And," he paused and said, "Yen Shanjun is very good to me. There are some things he didn't want me to tell you. I thought it would be better to tell you. I don't want to force you to accept anyone's feelings. I want you to know the whole truth, and then carefully consider your own choice. When I was a child, I always liked to escape from the imperial mausoleum to explore the outside world. Although there were guards following me, I always liked to drill into dangerous places. Several times I escaped from death thanks to Yen Shanjun. He was not in the capital for a few days. People always thought that he liked to travel. Many times he actually went to find me, but he couldn't say it. He was afraid that imperial grandfather would find out and suspect that you colluded with him. He took out a wooden dagger from his arms. There were a few teeth marks on it. It was bitten by the woman who was about to give birth under the ghost mountain. When I was 7 years old, he made it for me. Also, when you were dealing with the crown prince, he revealed a lot of information about the crown prince's mansion to the palace people around you. So, if you don't accept him because you are worried about me, you can dispel this doubt." The next day, Xiaoheng paid the price for carrying the Jingkong. When he woke up, his waist and back were sore. "That kid is too heavy." When he was a child, he always looked a year younger than his peers. How could he grow so much when he was older? At 13 years old, he was taller than Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan, who were 15 years old. Gu Jiao sat up and looked at him. "There were so many guards, but you had to carry it yourself. Does it hurt?" "It doesn't hurt." Xiaoheng put down the hand that was rubbing his back in a second, and sat up straight to save face. Gu Jiao pursed her lips and slowly pulled back the quilt behind her, revealing 3 small black heads. The 3 of them looked at him with blinking eyes. Xiaoheng was stunned. Gu Jiao said mischievously, "Did you hear that? Just now father said it doesn't hurt. We can go hiking today." Xiaoheng. Digression. Ha 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 ha, I can't hold it in anymore. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1040700689. HTML Genius memorized the website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 999. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. In the Yen Kingdom, there was also a custom of burning incense on the first day of the new year. Gu Jiao's mountain climbing actually meant going to the temple to burn incense. They couldn't get the first incense, so they tried their best to reach the temple before noon, burn a few incense sticks, and eat a vegetarian meal. The three little ones remembered that they wanted to go out and play, so they came early. Xiao Heng was tired for most of the night, so he was still asleep when the children came. Xiao Yan looked at her father, who was lazing in bed for the first time in her memory, and couldn't help but remember how her father carried her uncle last night. She asked her mother if her father couldn't carry her uncle and was injured. If her father was injured, then he definitely couldn't climb the mountain today. But her father just said that it didn't hurt. Yay! Let's climb up. Xiao Yan scrambled to her feet. She first pulled Xiao Tsong up, then clumsily carried the 2-year-old Xiao Xian down. She giggled and said, "Daddy, you're awesome. Uncle in Jing Kong is already so old. Yet you can carry him." With this flattery, Xiao Heng didn't even have the leeway to go back on his word. Otherwise, wouldn't he become a weak father? He wanted face in front of his wife, but he also wanted dignity in front of his children. He cleared his throat and said without changing his expression, "Cough, of course your uncle is heavy." Xiao Yan happily brought her 2 younger brothers out of the house. "We're going to climb the mountain." Gu Jiao looked at him with smiling eyes. Xiao Heng grabbed her hands, turned over, and pressed her under his body. He punishingly bit her soft lips and said fiercely, "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Gu Jiao guiltily blinked her eyes. "Then are you going to punish me?" Xiao Heng, who was already punishing her. If this wasn't a punishment, then he would have to punish her even more. But after he was punished, he probably wouldn't be able to leave the house today. He took a deep breath and kissed her lips again. "I'll remember this and punish you when I come back tonight." After saying that, he suppressed the urge to be easily aroused by her early in the morning, and let go of her. Then he saw her take out 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes of Taotao from the small medicine box. Taking the initiative to accept the punishment, he was extremely obedient. Xiao Heng. Xianyuan she lived in Zhaoyang Palace. After waking up their father, the 3 little kids went to wake up their uncle from Jing Kong. Xianyuan she had a hangover after drinking a glass of wine. When he woke up, his head was buzzing. "Uncle, uncle." Xiao Yan jumped around his bed. "Wake up. We're going to climb the mountain." "Oh." Xianyuan she drowsily raised his other hand to block the dazzling light. Coincidentally, at this time, the little palace maid who came into the room to help him wash up came in with a basin. At a glance, she saw the lazy and handsome young man under the morning light. Her eyes swept past him, and inadvertently caught a glimpse of the slightly moving small Adam's apple. She only felt her heart throbbing. Her footsteps staggered, and the water in the basin spilled. "Get up. Get up." Xiao Yan turned into a little loudspeaker spirit, and kept talking in Xianyuan she's ear. Xianyuan she pulled the quilt to cover his head. She put her small head into the quilt, and continued to talk tirelessly. Heaven's way of reincarnation. Xianyuan she, who had been talking to others, finally experienced the despair of his grandaunt and others. He was annoyed by Xiao Yan and sat up without any love for life. Okay, uncle is getting up." After breakfast, a group of people took a carriage to the Lingyin Temple in the outer city. Shang Guanyin was not in the entourage. Only Shang Guanqing and Xiao Heng's family were with them. There were too many pilgrims coming to the temple. The carriage could not go any further when it was 1 li away from the foot of the mountain. A group of people got off the carriage and walked. There were too many people here. It was impossible to let the children walk on the ground. Shang Guanqing held Xiao Zong, and Xiao Heng held little Xiao Xian. Xiao Yan poked her small head out from behind Gu Jiao and smiled at Xian Yuanxi. Uncle from Jing Kong. Xian Yuanxi's eyebrows twitched. He braced himself and picked up Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan shook her head and talked all the way. Xian Yuanxi's head was about to explode. Xiao Heng held little Xiao Xian in one hand, and held Gu Jiao in the other, leisurely following behind. Seeing that the former little monk was annoyed by Xiao Yan's quarrel, a certain someone is very happy. Bad brother-in-law, you're not allowed to gloat. A certain someone snorted coldly. Xiao Heng's smile froze. After confirming that Jing Kong did not turn around, he thought, "Are your eyes on the back of your head? How could you notice this?" The group entered the temple and offered incense. The 3 little guys kowtowed and worshipped Buddha. They looked very proper, especially little Shirxin, who was wearing a small monk robe and small Buddha beads. If he kowtowed again, those who did not know would think that he was the little master in the temple. However, this little master was simply too adorable. Yes, P. Little monk Shirxin, who was little Xiao Xian, tugged at his father's clothes. Xiao Heng pointed at Xian Yuanxi. Go find uncle." Little Xiao Xian walked over and raised his little head. "Uncle P. Bad brother-in-law, you're too lazy." Xian Yuanxi had already experienced his bad brother-in-law's laziness. He did not have the slightest hope for his bad brother-in-law. He carried little Xiao Xian to the outhouse. "We'll wait for you in the meditation room," Xiao Heng said. "Got it." Xian Yuanxi pursed his lips. On the way from the outhouse to the meditation room, they had to pass by a small plum garden. When Xian Yuanxi carried little Xiao Xian and walked on the small path in the plum garden, they bumped into a young lady wearing a pink cloak and a veil. The limestone path was so narrow. Xian Yuanxi intentionally gave way. Who knew that the other party was also giving way, and in the same direction? Xian Yuanxi hurriedly went to the right again. Coincidentally, the other party also thought the same. After a while, they really could not walk past each other. Xian Yuanxi simply turned sideways. "Miss, please." The young lady bowed to express her gratitude. Then she turned and walked forward. When she brushed past the 2 of them, little Xiao Xian reached out his little hand and pulled off her hair clip. Xian Yuanxi. "Sorry." Xian Yuanxi first apologized to the girl, then looked at the little guy in his arms. "Xianer, return it to her." Little Xiao Xian did not return it. The young lady warmly said, "It's all right, it's just a hair clip, it's not worth much." Xian Yuanxi said, "That won't do, if word gets out, it will damage Miss' reputation." But no matter what he said, little Xiao Xian did not return it. Xiao Xian's body was weak, he did not dare to let him cry, afraid that he would cry until he fainted. In the end, under Xian Yuanxi's insistence, he bought the hair clip for 20 taels of silver. After returning to the meditation room, he did not hide anything and told him everything that happened in the garden. Xiao Heng looked sternly at his little son. Little Xiao Xian was so scared that he trembled and threw himself into Shang Guanqing's arms. He was not stupid, he knew that it was useless to throw himself into his mother's arms after getting into trouble. His mother and father were always on the same side, only his uncle was reliable. Shang Guanqing protected the little guy in his arms and softly coaxed him. All right, Xiana, don't be afraid, uncle will protect you." "Xiao Heng, your new gun is gone." Shang Guanqing handed little Xiao Xian over in a second and sternly said to Xiao Heng, "Discipline your own son." Little Xiao Xian. Xiao Heng brought his son to the meditation room next door. Mistakes that should be corrected must be corrected, but he had a principle of not reprimanding his child in front of others. A quarter of an hour later, the father and son came over from the meditation room next door. No one knew what Xiao Heng said to little Xiao Xian, but little Xiao Xian obediently returned the hair clip to Xian Yuanxi. "Xian Yuanxi, no, why don't you give it to me?" Xian Yuanxi also did not want it. What scholar and beauty meeting by chance, meeting by fate? This kind of scene would not cause a reaction on Xianyuan Shi. He felt that the hair clip was very ugly, so he turned around and threw it away. On the way back, Xiaoheng did not take the carriage, but rode a horse with Xianyuan Shi. Xianyuan Shi glanced at his bad brother-in-law beside him. It's such a strong wind, I don't care if it gets damaged. Xiaoheng was not that weak. He just did not practice martial arts, but he secretly trained his body. But Xiaoheng gave up the opportunity to be intimate with his wife to accompany Xianyuan Shi to ride a horse. It seemed that he had something to say. What exactly is it? Xianyuan Shi asked. Xiaoheng hesitated for a moment. It was not convenient to Jiao to talk about this kind of thing, so he had to worry about it himself. He paused, leaned the horse closer to him, and asked calmly, "You didn't fool around with anyone in the military camp, right?" Fool around with what? Xianyuan Shi did not understand. Xiaoheng thought about the pearl hair clip and said, "You're old. Many children of aristocratic families are already familiar with human affairs at your age, but I don't agree with that." Xianyuan Shi half guessed and half explained. Combined with his somewhat indescribable expression, he finally understood what he was talking about. Xianyuan Shi's little face darkened. "Bad brother-in-law, what are you talking about? How old am I?" It seemed that he really did understand. Before he went to the military camp, he was just a simple child. After hanging around with those veterans for a year, he had gained a lot of knowledge. Children grew up too quickly. If one did not pay attention, they would already be half an adult. Xiaoheng suppressed his feelings and said, "You have to take care of your body. You can't act recklessly." "I never thought about this kind of thing, okay." Xianyuan Shi was still a baby in his heart, but he would not admit it. Perhaps all young men were like this. No matter how childish they were in their hearts, they always had to pretend to be mature on the surface. He raised his chin and snorted. "Instead of worrying about me, you should worry about yourself." Xiaoheng asked, "What's wrong with me?" Xianyuan Shi raised his eyebrows and said, "I heard that there was a Lu Xiang in Wei State. He came from a lower state and had a low status. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Jiao once had a close friend in Jiao State. His surname was Lu. His name was Lu Yisheng." Digression, Grand Secretary Xiao, mighty and domineering face. Add another box of Taotao for tonight. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1040584337. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 1000. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Last night, he carried Jing Kong on his back and was already sore. Today, he took the children to pray for incense for the whole day. Gu Jiao sympathized with her husband and consciously put back 2 boxes of Taotao in the drawer. Who knew that her husband was so stubborn that he walked over, opened the small medicine box, and took out the Taotao that she put back. 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes. That's right, he even added another box. Gu Jiao, do you have some misunderstanding about how long you can last? The two of them spent an indescribably charming night, and they didn't stop until dawn. The couple, who were supposed to visit the Duke's residence on the 2nd day of the new year, didn't get up this time. The 3 little kids were sensible children. They rarely went to disturb their parents. Usually they would disturb their uncle, Sheng Guanqing. Now that Xianyuan Shi was back, the 3 of them changed to disturb him. Xianyuan Shi experienced the despair of being dominated by the little kids again. At dawn, He was pulled out of bed by the steamed bun army led by Xiao Yan. Children were really energetic. The three of them wanted to ride horses today. Xiao Yan wanted to ride horses. She voted for the three of them, and Xiao Tsong's objection was invalid. Xianyuan she took the three little tails to find Little Shi. Little Shi wasn't in the stable at the moment. It went to the Black Wind King to flirt, but it was chased all the way by the Black Wind King. It escaped to the frozen lake and fell straight down. The Black Wind King was the same age as Gu Jiao. It was 24 years old this year, which was considered old for a warhorse. Ordinary warhorses began to enter old age at the age of 16. The horse's back would gradually droop, and its muscles would atrophy and become weak. However, these phenomena didn't seem to appear on the Black Wind King. It was still strong and healthy. Little Shi was beaten up badly. After a year, it thought it was strong, but when it came back it realized that it was naive. Little Shi felt wronged. However, if one looked carefully, they would still be able to see the difference. In the past, when the Black Wind King beat it up, it didn't even blush or pant. But now after beating it up, it panted on the spot for a long time. Little Shi stood up with a disheveled mane. She walked over to Black Wind King and rubbed her head against him. It was as if they were asking, "Hey, are you okay?" The Black Wind King left proudly. In the end, its back was not as straight as it was when it was young. Over the past 7 years, countless warhorses from different countries had challenged its authority, but it had never been afraid of challenges. It had used its absolute strength to defend the honor of the Black Wind Riders, and created its own legend. Even though it was panting heavily, its footsteps were still graceful and composed, and it carried an innate aura of slaughter and the domineering aura of a king. Little Shi silently followed behind it, mischievously stepping on its footprints. The Black Wind King turned around. Little 11 stared at it blankly. It opened its mouth wide and smiled at it. The Black Wind King retracted his gaze, and continued to walk forward proudly. In the first month, the palace was immersed in the festive atmosphere of the Spring Festival. But one day, a piece of news from the border of the Zhao Kingdom broke the atmosphere. The western border of the Zhao Kingdom was breached, and more than 10 cities were lost. Was it done by the Liang Kingdom? Gu Jiao asked the imperial guard who delivered the letter. The western border of the Zhao Kingdom was actually bordered by the Yan Kingdom, but the Yan Kingdom did not do such a thing and would not do such a thing. So only the Liang Kingdom was left. The Liang Kingdom was located southwest of the Zhao Kingdom, but it was farther away than the Yan Kingdom, and separated by a long waterway. The imperial guard hurriedly said, I'm sorry. It's not the western border, it's the eastern border." The Chun Kingdom? Gu Jiao still remembered the battle of the ancient Moon City 8 years ago. Why would the Chun Kingdom fight with the Zhao Kingdom? Was Yuan Tang crazy? 2 years ago, the Chun Kingdom's emperor died and Yuan Tang ascended the throne. He had offended Prince Bo, and had a falling out with Consort Rong's maternal family. His situation in the Chun Kingdom was not as peaceful as it seemed. Why would he attack the Zhao Kingdom? Besides, Yuan Tang had no reason to do so. The imperial guard braced himself and said, "It seems it's not the Chun Kingdom's army, it's the Wei Kingdom's." Gu Jiao had 2 doubts in her heart. Why did the Wei Kingdom attack the Zhao Kingdom? Why could the Wei Kingdom's army enter the Chun Kingdom so smoothly? The imperial guard continued. Also, there's one more thing. The Shadow Division has found out the name of that Lu Xiang. He's called Lu Yisheng. Although she had already guessed it, when it was confirmed, Gu Jiao was still shocked. The Zhao Kingdom probably never dreamed that the orphan of the Lu family, who was bullied by the Quan Kingdom like a rat crossing the street, would lead the Wei Kingdom's army 8 years later, and break through the border of the Zhao Kingdom in one fell swoop, and seize 12 cities. Gu Jiao murmured, "He's Yuan Tang's cousin. If his army enters the Chun Kingdom, Yuan Tang will give him face." However, the Zhao Kingdom's army is not to be trifled with. How did it fall to this extent? The imperial guard sighed. Speaking of which, it's also a coincidence that Marquis Xianping followed Princess Xinyang back to her fief and is not in the court. The old Marquis Ding, and is also old. The most suitable generals to fight are the new commander of the Gu army, Gu Chongqing, and the marshal of the world, Tang Yueshan. Gu Jiao frowned and said, The two of them have a high chance of winning. Yes, the problem does not lie with them. The Zhao kingdom's emperor imitated the Yan kingdom, and let the crown prince represent the emperor in battle to boost the morale of the army. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the crown prince was an idiot and fell into someone's trap? He blindly commanded at the last moment, and caused the soldiers of the three armies to suffer. That's right. Who is the traitor? The fourth prince, Prince N. In Gu Jiao's memory, there was almost no such person. It was only when he was mentioned that she remembered meeting the fourth prince when she first came to Zhaodu. When Lu Yixing fell ill, the fourth prince was dissatisfied that she treated Lu Yixing and caused trouble for her on the street. Later, she accidentally bumped into Marquis Xianping and the fourth prince finally let it go. However, this person's presence was not strong and was not a big deal. Gu Jiao turned her head and forgot about him. Who would have thought that after lying low for 10 years, he would stab the crown prince in the back like this? Gu Jiao asked. He colluded with the Wei army? The Imperial Guard answered, yes. Gu Jiao said calmly. He once looked down on Lu Yixing the most. Now he actually colluded with Lu Yixing. How ironic. Isn't that so? The Imperial Guard sighed. However, he did not end up well. After the incident, Lu Xiang turned around and exposed him. He also sent all the evidence of treason to Zhaodu and handed it to the emperor. The emperor was so angry that he fell ill on the spot. Now, it is Empress Dowager Zhuang who is handling court affairs. Speaking of this, the Imperial Guard could not help but sigh. Lu Yixing is really ruthless. First, he tempted the fourth prince to betray the country. Then, he used the fourth prince to bewitch the crown prince. He made the three armies and the people bitterly disappointed. In the end, he even stabbed the emperor in the heart. No wonder he could help the Prince of Wei unify the 13 divisions. This method and strategy were too frightening. The Imperial Guard sighed again. After this battle, regardless of whether Zhaodu falls or not, the future of these two sons is the same as being ruined. The people would not accept a prince who betrayed the country, and would not submit to a crown prince who lost half of the country. Who is the general of the army? Gu Jiao asked. The Imperial Guard said, Gu Chongqing. The crown prince was captured. He risked his life to save the crown prince and was seriously injured. He paused and wanted to say something but stopped. Gu Jiao continued for him. If the emperor wants to protect the crown prince, he must find a suitable scapegoat. He must say that everything was done by that person on his own initiative. There is no one more suitable than the commander of the Gu army. If the emperor really does this, it will cause the Gu army to be at odds with him, and he will be completely alone. The more the Imperial Guard thought about it, the more he shuddered. This Lu Yixing is really calculating. When Xian Yuanxi heard this, he immediately rushed into Gu Jiao's study. Jiao, I will fight. I will take back the cities of Zhaodu. He grew up in Zhaodu and Zhaodu was his home. Wait for my news in Chengdu. However, this time Gu Jiao did not let him go alone. In February, Zhaodu lost another city. Gu Chongqing went out to battle with injuries. He and Gu Chengfeng led the Gu family army to fight back and took back 2 cities. However, the Wei army did not seem to care about the plundering in the rear. They only cared about advancing into the hinterland of Zhaodu. If you take a city, I will take another one. Let's see who is faster. Gu Jiao fought with the Wei army under such circumstances. It was a cold spring morning. The sky was gloomy and dark clouds covered the sky. The 2 armies were at daggers drawn at the riverside of Li City. Gu Jiao was wearing red clothes and black armor. She was riding on the back of the powerful Black Wind King with a cold expression. Beside her were Little Shi and Xian Yuanxi, who were also wearing armor. Although it was called an army, it was actually only the 2 of them. The others were still on the road. Their horses were not as fast as the Black Wind King and Little Shi. The Wei army was happy. They had an army of 5,000. Wasn't it fun to capture 2 people alive? Who are you? A general of the Wei army asked. His surname was Mo, and he was a young general who was less than 30 years old. Xian Yuanxi rode his horse forward. The young man said frivolously, Who are you to ask about my sister's name? Tell Lu Yixing to come out. Gu Jiao and Xian Yuanxi had strong auras. However, They were too young. Gu Jiao was 24 years old, but she looked younger than 20. Xian Yuan, she was even worse. A 13-year-old child could not pretend to be an adult. Moreover, the two of them were almost alone. Therefore, General Mo did not take them seriously at all. Gu Jiao said lightly, "I want to see Lu Yixing." General Mo sneered. "You think you can see Prime Minister Lu just because you want to? Who do you think you are? I don't mind telling you this. Even if the Prince of Zhao country comes, our Lord will not see him." As soon as he finished speaking, a white shadow flashed from behind the Wei army and rushed straight at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao did not dodge. Xian Yuanxi's first reaction was to sneak attack. He was about to shoot an arrow when Gu Jiao gently grabbed his wrist. The little white shadow rushed into Gu Jiao's arms. Gu Jiao hugged the chubby little ball and asked in surprise, "Little sure?" Meow. It rubbed against Gu Jiao. 9 years ago, it was placed in Lu Yixing's home by Gu Jiao. At that time, it was just a little ball of kitten. Now it was several times bigger and heavier. It almost filled Gu Jiao's arms. It's Little Sure? Xian Yuan, she was stunned. He had only heard about Little Sure from Jiao Jiao. He had never seen it in person. The Wei army was even more surprised than him. They had already recognized that the cat was the Prime Minister's beloved pet. The Prime Minister loved cats as much as his own life, and took it everywhere with him. It was the only cat that dared to tear the Prime Minister's memorial into pieces without worrying about being punished. It was very delicate. It was very fierce, very hard to please, and did not like to be close to people. Other than the Prime Minister, no one could touch it. It had even scratched the Emperor of Chen country with its claws. Now it was actually throwing itself into a stranger's arms? Were their eyes playing tricks on them? Or did the young man use some trick to trick it? General Mo drew his sword from his waist. "Let go of the Prime Minister's beloved pet. Otherwise, we'll kill without mercy." "Stop." A cold voice sounded from behind. General Mo was startled when he heard the voice. The Wei Kingdom army automatically opened up a path, and a man dressed in Wei Kingdom armor slowly rode out on his horse. Xian Yuan, she did not recognize him. Gu Jiao found him familiar. After staring at him for a few seconds, she frowned. Jun Xiuhan? Jun Xiuhan was a student of Yan Kingdom's Jianan Academy. 8 years ago, he was Gu Jiao's competitor during the selection of the Black Wind Cavalry commander. He successfully advanced to the last round. However, he took the initiative to give his bamboo tube to Gu Jiao in the bamboo forest and said to Gu Jiao, "I owe someone a favor. Now, I'm returning it to you." Gu Jiao could not figure out who he was talking about. Could it be? Jun Xiuhan rode his horse to the front of Gu Jiao. Xian Yuan, she stopped him with his spear. "Don't get too close to my sister." Hearing the word sister, Jun Xiuhan's eyes were not surprised. He calmly looked at Gu Jiao and lightly said, "Commander Shao, we meet again. Lu Darren wants to see you." Digression. Lu Xiang's hole is almost filled. Shangguan Yan's emotional drama will not be written in detail, leaving some room for imagination. Recently, because of the cold, my brain is a bit muddled. Secondly, I'm a bit reluctant to finish it, so I always dawdle. But no matter how much I dawdle, there will be a day when I say goodbye to everyone. I really, really like Jiao Jiao. She is my favorite female lead. I also deeply love other characters in the novel. Aheng Jing Kong Long E Great Aunt Big Brother Little Feng Feng. Too many, too many. I can't do it. Recently, I'm a bit prone to tears. Good night, see you tomorrow. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1040395546. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com Chapter 1001. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Under the dumbfounded gazes of all the way soldiers, two young people who came out of nowhere were brought to their camp by Lu Xiang's trusted aide. In a spacious and clean tent, Gu Jiao saw Lu Yixing, whom she had not seen for many years. He was already 30 years old. He had lost some of his youthful aura, and gained some of the calmness and elegance accumulated over the years. He also gained some of the nobility and fierceness of a person in a high position. 9 years could change a person a lot. Gu Jiao had heard people call him Lu Xiang in her dreams when she returned to the Marquis's mansion. She knew that one day he would be conferred the title of Marquis, but seeing him in person was different from what she imagined. Perhaps she didn't expect that he would trample over the mountains and rivers of the Zhao country, and return with the determination to take revenge. When Gu Jiao was looking at Lu Yixing was also looking at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao had also changed a lot. The birthmark on her face was gone, revealing her sealed beauty. It was unfamiliar, but also pleasantly surprising. At the age of 24, she was as beautiful as a fairy. What didn't change was the vigorous vitality in her body, as well as the pure look in her eyes that didn't contain any impurities. It seemed that no matter how many years had passed, no matter how many things had happened, her heart had never changed. "I'll go out first," Jun Xiuhan said. "Okay." Lu Yixing agreed. Jun Xiuhan glanced at Xian Yuanxi. "I'm not going out," Xian Yuanxi said. Lu Yixing gave a rare smile. "It's okay." Jun Xiuhan was shocked. He had never seen Lu Yixing smile before. Lu Yixing said to him, "You go do your own thing. I'll be fine here." Jun Xiuhan glanced at Gu Jiao and said, "Her martial arts are very high." Then he looked at Xian Yuanxi. "This guy isn't weak either." He had seen Gu Jiao's skills and knew that she was a formidable expert who could defeat Han Yi. And according to the information they had, the general beside her should be the Marquis of Champion Xian Yuanxi. But he wasn't a person. If they attacked Lu Yixing in the tent, he wouldn't be able to save them. "I know," Lu Yixing said. But since Lu Yixing said so, Jun Xiuhan could only leave first. There was only one attendant in the tent. "Anu?" Gu Jiao looked at him. Lu Yixing was in a good mood. His eyes were full of smiles. "Yes, you still remember. Anu, do you remember Miss Gu?" Anu nodded and saluted Gu Jiao. He was a mute slave and couldn't speak. He had grown taller, and was a mature and steady bodyguard. Gu Jiao nodded to him. "Jing Kong right." Lu Yixing looked at Xian Yuanxi, who was beside Gu Jiao. Xian Yuanxi's eyes widened. "Oh, you know me?" Lu Yixing said bluntly. "We've met before. Have you forgotten?" Xian Yuanxi suddenly realized. "Ah, Brother Ming. I remember now. You saved us." Lu Yixing said pleasantly. "Then I've been investigating you for the past few years." Xian Yuanxi. Oh. He didn't ask why he was investigating him. 9 years ago, when Gu Jiao saw Lu Yixing off, she played the zither for him in the pavilion. That time, she brought Jing Kong with her. Jing Kong asked Lu Yixing about it out of curiosity, and found out that he and Gu Jiao were close friends. When he went back, he bragged to his bad brother-in-law that Jiao Jiao and Lu Yixing played the zither and the zither together, which made his bad brother-in-law very jealous. Later, when he grew up, he understood that the zither and the zither were not meant to be played that way. Moreover, Lu Yixing played the flute with Jiao Jiao in the carriage. Xian Yuanxi curled his lips and said, "We're here to beat you up, but you don't seem to be asking for it." The main reason was that he didn't feel any murderous intent or malicious intent towards Jiao Jiao from Lu Yixing. He smiled, as if he didn't mind Xian Yuanxi's straightforwardness. He came to the short table, sat down, and asked the two of them, "Would you like some tea?" Xian Yuanxi didn't want to drink. He curiously looked at the weapons and books in the tent. "Feel free to look around," Lu Yixing said pleasantly. Xian Yuanxi looked at Gu Jiao. After seeing Gu Jiao nod, he went to look through the books and weapons. Gu Jiao sat opposite Lu Yixing. Lu Yixing picked up the boiling kettle from the stove and made 3 cups of tea. Gu Jiao asked, "How did you meet Jun Xiuhan?" Lu Yixing said, "His mother is from the Zhao kingdom. Before his father took him back to the Yan kingdom, we lived in the same alley. We met a few times. Once he fainted from hunger. I carried him home." Gu Jiao suddenly understood. No wonder. Lu Yixing handed the tea to Gu Jiao. His family in the Yan kingdom wasn't very well off. Fortunately, he worked hard and got into the Jianan Academy. You can almost guess what happened after that. I met him by accident and learned about you from him. I guess that Xiao Lulang was you. Gu Jiao picked up the teacup. During the Black Wind Cavalry selection, he helped me. He said it was to repay someone's favor. Lu Yixing took back his hand, paused and said, "I don't know about that." Gu Jiao looked at him. "How have you been these years?" Lu Yixing smiled faintly. "As you can see, it's neither good nor bad. How about you? How have you been?" Gu Jiao said honestly, "Very good. I like it very much." She liked her current life and everything she had experienced. Lu Yixing smiled with relief and bitterness. "Is he good to you?" Gu Jiao was stunned. "My husband? He's very good to me." Lu Yixing lowered his eyes and took a sip of tea. "That's good. Do you have hatred in your heart?" Gu Jiao asked directly. Lu Yixing clenched the teacup in his hand and stared at the floating tea leaves in the cup. After a while he said in a low voice, "Yes. The royal family of the Zhao kingdom slaughtered my entire family. How can I not hate them? I live like a dog. I let anyone bully me. Anyone can step on me. If anyone is unhappy, they can take it out on me and the people around me. No, I don't have any people around me. I only have a mama and a mute slave that I bought halfway." Gu Jiao had heard and seen the scene of him being framed. At this moment, when she heard him mention it again, she suddenly felt that the past was shocking. Lu Yixing's misery that the world saw might only be the tip of the iceberg. He grew up in endless bullying, and the seed of hatred had long been planted in his heart. He laughed at himself. "You shouldn't have helped me. If you had let me die of illness on the street, the country wouldn't have almost been destroyed." "The Zhao kingdom won't be destroyed," Gu Jiao said. Lu Yixing looked into Gu Jiao's eyes. "You want to fight with me?" Gu Jiao didn't avoid his gaze. "Yes." Lu Yixing smiled sarcastically. "If you want to kill each other, why do you need to know each other?" Gu Jiao said, "It's my duty to save you, and it's my mission to kill you. You are a good doctor and a good general." Lu Yixing put down the cold tea in his hand and stood up lightly. "Why don't we have a bet? If you win, I will immediately withdraw my troops and never invade the Zhao kingdom again. If you lose, you have to promise me one thing." Gu Jiao said without hesitation. "Okay." Lu Yixing frowned. "You don't want to ask what the condition is?" "No," Gu Jiao said. Lu Yixing clenched his fingers. "Miss Gu, do you know that people are sinister? If you do this, I will do whatever I can to win you. You should bargain with me and let me know that even if I win, I can't get what I want. Maybe then I won't have such a strong desire to win. What do you want to bet?" However, Gu Jiao replied to him with this calm sentence. "You." Lu Yixing choked and turned his face to calm down. When he turned his face again, his face was calm. "I heard that you are Mr. Meng's disciple. You play a game of Go with me and decide the winner. If it's a draw, you win." "Okay." Gu Jiao agreed without hesitation. Lu Yixing looked at Xianyuan Shi, who was reading in front of the bookshelf, and said gently, "In Jing Kong, there is a box of Go on the second shelf. Can you pass it to me?" "Oh, okay." Xianyuan Shi found the Go box and passed it to him. He set the Go board, grabbed a handful of white Go pieces from the box, clenched his fist and said to Gu Jiao, "Guess first." Gu Jiao picked up a black Go piece. Odd. Lu Yixing opened his palm. There were 3 Go pieces. It was indeed an odd number. Whoever guessed correctly would play black, and the black player would go first. Gu Jiao placed her Go piece first. She placed her Go piece on the upper right corner of the Go board. She didn't have enough control over the corners, but it was a good place for Gu Jiao's swift and decisive personality. Little Shi rolled up on Gu Jiao's lap and closed its eyes comfortably. Gu Jiao played Go while stroking the cat. It didn't seem like a life and death game. She was quite comfortable. Lu Yixing raised his Go piece and glanced at Little Sher. Little Sher felt a chill on its back and curled up in Gu Jiao's arms. Sir. Outside the tent, General Mo rushed over in a hurry. Glancing at the tightly shut tent behind Jun Xiuhan, he whispered, "What's going on?" "If you ask me, who should I ask?" Jun Xiuhan retorted. General Mo didn't dare to argue with Lu Yixing's confidant. He scratched his head and said helplessly, "I'm just worried about your safety. Speaking of which, who are those two people? They seem to be wearing the armor of the Yan Kingdom. Are they reinforcements sent by the Yan Kingdom?" "You don't have to worry about them. It's none of your business," Jun Xiuhan said and added lightly, "It's none of my business." "My lord, are you jealous?" "Ahem." General Mo cleared his throat. "We're about to take down the Zhao Kingdom. We can't let anything go wrong. The Zhao Kingdom has a strong army these years. This is a good opportunity. If we miss it, it'll be difficult to attack the Zhao Kingdom again." Marquis Xianping was not in the court. Tang Yueshan stayed in the capital. The crown prince tricked the Gu army. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There wouldn't be a next time. Jun Xiuhan said coldly, "If you can think of it, how can Sir not think of it?" General Mo's eyes lit up. "So we'll continue to play?" In the tent, Gu Jiao put down the last piece. "I lost." Lu Yixing said, "You lost by half a point." Gu Jiao said, "That's still a loss." Lu Yixing said, "I told you that I'll win." In fact, it was very difficult to win. She was so good at chess that he almost exhausted all his energy to win by half a point. Gu Jiao said, "You must accept your loss. Tell me your conditions." Xianyuan, she pricked up his ears. What conditions would Lu Yixing ask for from Jiao Jiao? The way he looked at Jiao Jiao was different. Would he ask Jiao Jiao to leave her bad brother-in-law and be with him? Or would he ask Jiao Jiao to stand by and not participate in the final battle between the Wei Kingdom and the Zhao Kingdom? Or would he ask Jiao Jiao to send troops to help him conquer the world? To everyone's surprise, Lu Yixing just stood up and walked to the box. He quietly took out a guqin and put it on the table. "Can you play a song for me?" Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. "This is your request?" Lu Yixing smiled. "If you can have a meal with me and listen to a play." Gu Jiao took the guqin. Lu Yixing cleared the table. Gu Jiao's fingertips moved, and the sound of the guqin flowed out from her fingertips. It was like the sound of the ninth heaven, like the sound of a mountain stream. She played the graceful grace that she played for him on the day of his departure. The difference was that she added the second half of the reflected shadow. Lu Yixing gently played the flute, just like many years ago on the night when she sent him off. Xianyuan, she listened attentively. After a long time, he realized that he was holding an arithmetic book with familiar handwriting. It had Jiao Jiao's annotations on it. Did Jiao Jiao give Lu Yixing a book before? In the evening, the three of them had dinner together and went to the theater in the city to listen to a play. The friendship between gentlemen was as light as water. There were no warm words or intimate actions between them, but it was a silent, tacit understanding. "I should go?" Gu Jiao said. Lu Yixing stared at her deeply. "Be careful on the road." After this farewell, she didn't know if she would see him again in this life. Gu Jiao nodded and reluctantly returned the little Sher that she had been carrying all the way to Lu Yixing. Then she and Xianyuan, she mounted their horses. Lu Yixing suddenly called her. Under the night sky, his eyes were like stars. "Miss Gu, thank you for the book you gave me that year." 3 days later, the army of Wei State withdrew. The soldiers of the 11 cities had all retreated. Lu Yixing didn't take anything with him from Zhao State. His luggage was very simple. Other than a set of clothes, there was the cat in his arms, and the 11 books that she gave him. "I met you at the most miserable age. But you didn't coldly step over my dirty and rotten body. You bent your beautiful waist and stretched out your clean hand to me." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all the novels that you can't find online. https://www zhhbqg. com/89642_896422826/1040198835. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bkuj mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 1002. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are available here. Zhao's crisis was resolved, but the court's crisis had just begun. The crown prince was ignorant and incompetent, obstinate and self-opinionated. Although he was benevolent, he couldn't take on important responsibilities. More importantly, even Xiaoji thought that his nephew couldn't take on important responsibilities. Xiaoji didn't think that an emperor needed to be wise, but at least he couldn't be too stupid. The crown prince wasn't just stupid, he was also a bit narrow-minded in some matters. For example, when he heard that Xiaoji and Xiaoheng were silent about the memorial to depose him, he actually complained to Empress Xiao. The father and son were holding a grudge against him for taking away Wen Linlang. Who was Wen Linlang? The father and son had long forgotten about this person. He still had the nerve to mention it. With his pig brain, if he succeeded the throne in the future and was instigated by someone with ulterior motives, how could Xiaoheng have a good life in the future? Xiaoji was originally silent, but now he wanted to drag him down from the throne. Tang Yueshan was Empress Dowager Zhuang's trusted aide, and Empress Dowager Zhuang was Gu Jiao and Xiaoheng's backer. Even without Empress Dowager Zhuang's reminder, Tang Yueshan wouldn't speak up for the crown prince. As for the old marquis and the old chancellor, the crown prince didn't even need to think about it. Only now did the crown prince realize how laughable the power in his hands was. The emperor still had 3 princes: Consort Yu's son Rui Wang, Consort Shu's son King Liang, and the 16-year-old 7th prince Qin Shiyu. Rui Wang had done many things for the court, and had a high reputation among the people. He also married Duke Luo's granddaughter, so he had a certain background. Consort Shu was the old marquis's daughter. On the surface, she and King Liang had Marquis Ding, and the Gu army behind them, so they had a certain amount of support in the court. On the other hand, Qin Shiyu was young and a bully in the directorate, so his reputation wasn't good. Few courtiers proposed making him the crown prince. The emperor's head hurt. On the other side, after Xianyuan she returned to Yin, he immediately led troops to attack Liang. This was revenge for the civil strife in the southwest. Liang Guan naturally did not admit it verbally, but did it matter whether he admitted it or not? If I want to hit you, I don't care if you feel wronged or not. The one who came to fight was an unexpected person, his brother Ming. Ming was 6 years older than little Jing Kong. She was 19 this year. In the early years, they had written letters to each other. Later, Xianyuan she frequently visited the Yan kingdom, so they wrote fewer letters to each other. After joining the army, they could no longer keep in touch. Who would have thought that they would meet again on such an occasion? Unfortunately, Ming was not Lu Yixing, and Xianyuan she was not Gu Jiao. This battle was destined to be unavoidable. Both sides were in a state of frenzy. Xianyuan she rode on horseback and viciously chopped down with his spear. Ming swung the long sword in her hand and blocked his red tasseled spear. He had a hard time blocking it. It was hard to imagine that this was the power of a 13-year-old boy. The Black Wind cavalry was brave and skilled in battle. The soldiers of the Liang kingdom fell one by one. Ming gritted her teeth. You said you wouldn't kill my soldiers. Xianyuan she sneered. You also said you would retreat 30 miles from me. Neither of them kept their promise. Don't laugh at each other. Xianyuan she won this battle. Ming fell off the horse. Xianyuan she pointed his spear at his heart. Guards, tie him up. Ming stared at him fiercely. You might as well kill me. You are my brother Ming. How can I bear to kill you? Xianyuan she slowly withdrew his spear, and raised his hand to wipe away the blood on his cheek. He said coldly and domineeringly, Isn't it good to use you to threaten the Liang kingdom? You. Ming'er was tied up. He was furious. My mother still cares about you. Xianyuan, she carried the spear on his shoulder and said casually, I will visit the princess consort another day. You don't have to worry about me. Ming'er stomped his feet. Ah. I am so angry. Xianyuan, she fought all the way to Bianjing, the capital of the Liang Kingdom. The king of the Liang Kingdom was trembling in fear. Someone came up with an idea to let the king of the Liang Kingdom hand over the most beautiful princess. Since ancient times, even heroes could not resist the charms of beautiful women. However, Xianyuan, she did not even look at the little princess of the Liang Kingdom. He plundered a pile of trophies and returned to his country. The second to suffer was the Chen Kingdom. Yuan Tang was furious when he heard about this. What did the Chen Kingdom do? Why did they attack me? The guard beside him muttered. It was because you allowed the army of the Wei Kingdom to pass through and caused the border of the Zhao Kingdom to fall. Did you lose your memory? Moreover, you also wanted a share of Baoshan Island. You even wrote a letter to threaten the king of the Yan Kingdom. Have you forgotten? Yuan Tang's mouth twitched violently. Even the powerful army of the Liang Kingdom could not withstand Xianyuan Shi's attack. How could the small Qin Kingdom? After thinking about it, Yuan Tang felt that this trouble was caused by his cousin. He went north to the Wei Kingdom without saying a word. He lay down on the bed in Lu Yixing's mansion and said shamelessly, I don't care. I was implicated by you. If I, the emperor, fall, you will raise me. Lu Yixing frowned. Get out. Yuan Tang rolled up the quilt. I won't. The Qin Kingdom suffered a severe defeat. Xianyuan, she was not a belligerent person, but Shangguan Yen was a woman, and was looked down upon by the other countries. If they were not beaten until they were convinced, they would become even more aggressive in the future. After the Qin Kingdom, it was the turn of the Jin Kingdom and the Zhao Kingdom. He did not attack the Zhao Kingdom. After all, the Zhao Kingdom was Jiao, and the Zhao Kingdom Emperor's idea of Baoshan Island was extinguished in the cradle by Empress Dowager Zhuang. He fought this war for 2 years. When he reached the Wei Kingdom, he was already a 15-year-old teenager. The Wei Emperor had already ascended the throne. He looked at the memorial sent from the border with a confused face. I didn't bully the Yan Kingdom. Is this guy crazy? He wants to beat whoever he catches? His trusted minister said. He is probably thinking about the matter of us sending troops to the Zhao Kingdom. I told you to stop Lu Xiang, but you insisted on competing with Xiao Ji. Who knew that the one who fought in the end was not Xiao Ji? He didn't let Xiao Ji lose face. Instead, he planted a future trouble for the Wei Kingdom. The Wei Emperor glared at him. The Wei Emperor ordered, Go and call Lu Xiang. The eunuch went and soon returned to the palace to report. Lu Xiang said that he won't fight with Miss Gu's brother. If you want to fight, you can fight by yourself. The Wei Emperor. What kind of unreliable prime minister was this? The eunuch coughed softly. However, Lu Xiang gave you a trick, a honey trap. Lu Yixing's original intention was to let the Wei Emperor give himself to Shangguan Yen, the kind that would be wrapped in a gift box. Who knew that the Wei Emperor would misunderstand and directly let the female official send his own daughter out. The trusted minister and the eunuch were convinced. Your Majesty, haven't you heard the rumors about this divine general of the 6 kingdoms? How many people have offered him beauties? From princesses and infanta to beauties of the common people, he didn't like any of them. No, he wasn't good-looking at all. Everyone broke out in a cold sweat for the little princess of the Wei Kingdom. The Wei Emperor didn't have a son, and only had this one daughter. If she angered Xianyuan Shi and was killed, the Wei Kingdom would have no descendants. When the princess of the Wei Kingdom heard that her father wanted to offer her as a bargaining chip to ask for peace, of course she didn't agree. The eunuch advised her not to be willful. The little general of the Xianyuan family was extremely brave and famous. If she fought with him head-on, the ones who would suffer would be the soldiers and common people at the border. The princess of the Wei Kingdom clenched her small fists. At worst, I'll kill him myself. The north wind was strong, and 50,000 Black Wind cavalry were at the border. Xianyuan, she was wearing the golden armor passed down by the Grand Marshal. His legs were slender and his posture was tall and straight. The cold helmet was put down, covering this face that was the best in the 6 kingdoms. 3 months ago, the Black Wind King and Little She had a battle between kings. No matter how unwilling Little She was, he had to challenge the Black Wind King. This was the way the Black Wind Cavalry passed down. Only by defeating the Black Wind King and becoming the new king could he lead the Black Wind Cavalry to the next golden age. After a fierce battle, the Black Wind King fell to the ground in a sorry state. However, there was no trace of embarrassment or despair in his eyes. He seemed to have been looking forward to this day for a long time. The Black Wind Cavalry welcomed a new inheritance. He bowed down to Little She and acknowledged Little She's position. The new Black Wind King was born. At this moment, Xianyuan Shi was riding on the back of the new Black Wind King's horse. 1 man and 1 horse were like thousands of soldiers and horses. They were unstoppable. General. Wenren Chong reminded him in a low voice. The Shadow Division has found out that the Wei Kingdom is going to use a honey trap. Please be careful. Xianyuan Shi didn't even bat an eyelid. Honey trap? How is that possible? He wouldn't be tempted by those so-called beauties, he said arrogantly. None of them are as beautiful as Jiao Jiao. Wenren Chong's eyes narrowed. Sir, it seems that the Wei army is going to attack. Over there. Someone is attacking from there. Indeed, someone was coming. However, after taking a look, Wenren Chong felt that something was wrong. What's this? Riding on a white pony? Although the person on the horse was also wearing armor, it was obviously not fitting. The helmet was swaying and looked like it could fall off at any time. Wenren Chong suddenly had a déjà vu of a child wearing an adult's clothes. He was stunned for a moment before he said, Sir, I'll go and fight. He was just a rookie. He could kill him in 1 move. Xianyuan Shi, where are you? Come out and face your death. The child opened his mouth arrogantly. However, it was unknown whether it was because of fear or something else. But his voice was trembling and somewhat immature. Xianyuan Shi frowned and urged his horse to rush out. On the vast battlefield, dust was flying everywhere. The 2 horses galloped towards each other. That person looked at Xianyuan Shi, who was clad in golden armor, rushing towards him like a war god from the 9th heaven. That fierce killing intent instantly frightened him to the point that his face turned pale. I'm here to kill. Wah, I don't want to kill. I want to go home. Little Wei Jun raised his head and cried. The rest of the Wei soldiers couldn't bear to watch. The helmet on Little Wei Jun's head, which was already several sizes too big, fell off with a clatter, revealing a small head. His jet-black hair cascaded down like a waterfall, and was lifted by the strong wind, brushing past his delicate and lively face. Xianyuan Shi's expression froze. The killing intent around him froze, and he abruptly tightened his grip on the reins. The sudden braking caused Little Shi's hoofs to scrape across the ground, causing sparks to fly. He stopped when he was 3 steps away from his opponent. He stared at him for a long time before he finally called out his name. Light Shui. Shangguan Shui was stunned. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. Xianyuan Shi's aura was too frightening. She trembled just from looking at him. Xianyuan Shi pushed his mask up, but felt that it wasn't enough. He simply took off his helmet. It's me. Shangguan Shui blinked her tear-filled eyes. She asked in a daze, Jing Kong? The solemn god of war youth revealed his first bright and moving smile on the battlefield. Light Shui. Shangguan Shui's eyes widened. Jing Kong. Time seemed to return to many years ago, when people came and went in the State Preceptor Hall. 2 little kids faced each other, flapping their tiny arms and leaning forward. One was squeaky and the other was babyish. Light Shui. Jing Kong. Light Shui. Jing Kong. Light Shui. Jing Kong. It's really you? Xianyuan Shi took a step forward on Little Eleven's back, and the already scared little white horse began to tremble even more. He raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears on her cheeks. You still haven't learned how to ride a horse? Yes. Shangguan Shui nodded, feeling wronged. Then why did you still come to fight? And to kill me? Shangguan Shui said pitifully. I'm the princess of the Wei Kingdom. If I didn't come, I would have been sacrificed to that Xianyuan Shi. Xianyuan Shi's lips curled into a smile. So that's how it is. Sheng Guanshue's horse was scared, and so was she. Both of them were trembling violently. Xian Yuanxi couldn't help but laugh and reach out his hand to her. As people grew up, their hearts would gradually become cold and hard. This was especially true for Xian Yuanxi, who had fought on the battlefield at the age of 12. His heart had long since built a wall that no one could easily walk in. However, they had met at an innocent age, and had spent the most innocent and beautiful time together. She had always been in the depths of his heart, like a family member. She had always been in the softest part of his heart. Sheng Guanxue hesitated for a moment before giving her hand to him. She trusted Jing Kong unconditionally. The fair and chubby hand that he had held when they were young had now become a slender young girl's. Xian Yuanxi held her in her palm, and with a gentle pull with her other hand, she carried her by the waist and placed her on little 11's back, making her sit in front of her. Sheng Guanxue finally let out a long sigh of relief. The fearless little princess was afraid of nothing but riding a horse. Xian Yuanxi gripped the reins tightly with both hands and protected her in his arms. Then he turned his horse around. The soldiers of both countries were shocked. What was going on? Weren't you two going to kill each other? How did you end up on the same horse? Black Wind Cavalry. General, something's wrong with you. Wei Jun, Princess, something's wrong with you. Sheng Guanxue was suffering from the aftereffects of fainting on horses. Her brain was a little muddled, so she didn't realize what was going on. Xian Yuanxi didn't care. He used his broad body to block her petite figure, and put his helmet on her head, covering her delicate and beautiful face. Then he glanced coldly at the Black Wind Cavalry. Everyone lowered their heads in unison. It was so tightly covered that they couldn't see anything even if they wanted to. Sheng Guanxue was naive and didn't know what Jing Kong was trying to do. She shook the helmet on her head and giggled. She leaned her back against Xian Yuanxi's firm chest. She wasn't someone who didn't know her manners. Normally, she wouldn't get close to any man other than her own father. However, he was Jing Kong. He was the kindest, bravest, purest, and most trustworthy little boy in the world. Sheng Guanxue forgot that the little boy in the past was 15 this year. He was a hot-blooded young man. The two of them rode on the horse. The young man protected the person in his arms in a domineering and gentle manner. Compared to when she was kidnapped by an assassin when he was only 5 years old, he could only bite the assassin with his little steel teeth. Now he had absolute power. No one could hurt her from his hands. Little Shi took a few steps forward. Sheng Guanshue's almond eyes widened. I suddenly remembered that you know how to ride a horse in Jing Kong? You're amazing. Xian Yuanxi smiled gently. There are many things that I'm amazing at. I'll tell you about it later. The young man's voice was clean and warm, like the most gentle breeze on the grassland. Yes, Sheng Guanxue nodded. I've written many letters to you over the years, Xian Yuanxi said softly. Although Yan Shanjuan's mansion was empty, someone would regularly collect the letters. He didn't know where Light Xue had gone, so he could only send the letters there first. Sheng Guanxue frowned. Really? I haven't received a single letter. I've also written many letters to you. But you never replied to me. Xian Yuanxi narrowed his eyes. Very good. The Wei Emperor had detained her. Sheng Guanxue sat in his arms and stroked the horse's mane. She asked, Is this little Shi? Xian Yuanxi said, Yes, you recognize it? Sheng Guanxue nodded. She couldn't help but exclaim, Wow, little Shi is so impressive. Little 11 raised his neck valiantly, and took a step forward without any regard for his family. After knowing that it was little Shi, Sheng Guanshue's last trace of fear disappeared. When she was young, she really liked little Shi. She thought of something and asked, But Jing Kong, why are you here? Do you know Xian Yuanxi? Xian Yuanxi smiled. I know him. Is he powerful? Sheng Guanxue continued to ask. Xian Yuanxi's expression didn't change as he said, Very powerful. Sheng Guanshue's face turned pale with fright. Then, will he kill me and my father? He won't. Xian Yuanxi suppressed the smile on his face. I promise you. Sheng Guanxue patted her chest in relief. Where are we going now? Where do you want to go? Xian Yuanxi asked her. Sheng Guanxue tilted her head and thought for a moment. I want to see my teacher. Xianyuan, she said meaningfully. See your parents. Huh? Shangguan Shui didn't understand. Xianyuan, she's lips curved. I said okay. Digression. Tomorrow there will be a chapter about great-aunt. Also, I'm not sure if I should write about the origins of the Godfather and the medicine chest. It's a bit sci-fi. I'm worried that people won't be able to accept it. If I don't write it, tomorrow will be the last chapter. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. There are millions of novels to read for free. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1040000218. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bkuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 1003. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel was also updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels were read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online here. Zhao State, Rinshou Palace. Empress Dowager Zhuang didn't have a good appetite these days. Eunuch Qin always asked the imperial kitchen to cook for her in different ways, but she couldn't eat much. Eunuch Qin secretly delivered a letter to the Blue Water Alley, but was stopped by Empress Dowager Zhuang. Empress Dowager Zhuang glared at him. Eunuch Qin sighed. He knew that she didn't want the younger generation to see her sick, but his heart ached. Empress Dowager, His Majesty is here. Outside the bedchamber, a palace maid reported. Seeing that Empress Dowager Zhuang was sick, Eunuch Qin whispered, "How about this servant go back to His Majesty and tell him that you are resting?" Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at the crescent moon hanging in the night sky. She pressed down the tiredness between her brows and said, "He must have come at this hour for proper business." Yes. Eunuch Qin went to invite the emperor in. The emperor stepped into the room and looked at Empress Dowager Zhuang, who was sitting on a chair with an official's hat. He asked worriedly, "Is mother feeling better?" This son was a little stupid, but his concern for the Empress Dowager was not fake. It was rare that Empress Dowager Zhuang did not roll her eyes. She said indifferently, "I have been fine for a long time. It is you who make a fuss every day. Speak, it is so late. Why are you looking for me?" The emperor sat down beside his mother and said helplessly, "To be honest, I do have something to discuss with you." "The appointment of the crown prince?" Empress Dowager Zhuang asked, hitting the nail on the head. The crown prince had already been deposed for 2 years, and the calls for a new crown prince in the imperial court were getting louder and louder. If the crown prince was not appointed soon, there would be a struggle for the throne among the factions. The emperor silently agreed. Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at him and asked, "What are your plans?" The emperor said, "I believe that Rui Wang is qualified for a great responsibility." He paused for a moment before continuing. "However, little Qi has restrained himself a lot in the past 2 years." Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at the boundless night sky. Little Qi is 18, almost 19. At his age, Ahing has already become the top scholar. Yes. The emperor sighed. "Your son is hesitating between Rui Wang and little Qi. I want to hear your opinion." Empress Dowager Zhuang said indifferently, "I don't have any objections. You are the emperor. Whoever you establish is the Qin family's kingdom." "Mother." The emperor didn't like her separating herself from him so clearly, as if she didn't belong to this family. Empress Dowager Zhuang snorted. "What? I've worked hard for the royal family of Zhao country all my life. Can't you give me a few days of peace?" The emperor frowned. "What is imperial mother talking about? You are going to live a long life." All right. I'm not used to hearing those things." Empress Dowager Zhuang waved her hand and opened the candied fruit jar on the table. Inside was the candied fruit that Jiao Jiao had made for her. She had been saving 3 pieces a day for 5 days. She took out a candied fruit, stared at it, and said, I only have one question for you. If Rui Wang succeeds the throne, will little Qi be convinced? The emperor hesitated. Empress Dowager Zhuang continued. If he is not convinced and rebels, will Rui Wang be able to handle it? A trace of disappointment flashed across the emperor's face. He definitely won't be able to handle it. Rui Wang had Duke Luo's mansion behind him, but Qin Chuyu had the entire Marquis Xuanping's mansion behind him. If the relationship between Princess Xinyang and Xiao Ji eased, she would also help him. He also had his sworn brother, Xianyuan Shi, and the youngest son of the Minister of War. Su Kong Xiaoheng's connections didn't include the emperor's. Another very important point was that little Qi was the legitimate son of the emperor's wife. The answer was self-evident. It wasn't easy to not fight for this position, even if little Qi wasn't greedy for the throne. How could Empress Xiao be willing? How could the ministers who wanted to succeed the emperor be willing to give up? Empress Dowager Zhuang said earnestly. To be the emperor, you don't have to be the smartest one, but you have to be the most suitable one to stabilize the country. Only by letting Qin Chuyu ascend the throne, the other princes wouldn't dare to have any ideas about the throne. After all, no one had the confidence to succeed in a rebellion under Xiao Ji's control. Empress Dowager Zhuang glanced at him and said, Besides, little Qi isn't as bad as you think. Don't underestimate him. A naughty child who grew up in Jing Kong would have been ruined if he didn't have some skills. The emperor pondered for a moment. I understand. After the emperor left, Empress Dowager Zhuang couldn't bear to eat the candied fruit and put it back in the jar. Eunuch Qin went forward to pour her a cup of warm water. Seeing her absent-minded appearance, he couldn't help but ask, The matter of the crown prince has been settled. Do you have anything else on your mind? Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at him deeply and said abruptly, You're old. Eunuch Qin was stunned and then smiled. I'm not a monster. How can I not be old? Empress Dowager Zhuang pursed her lips and wanted to say that she was old too. But she swallowed the words and asked, You and I entered the palace in the same year, right? Eunuch Qin smiled. Yes, but I didn't have the fortune to serve you in the first few years. Empress Dowager Zhuang sighed. You didn't have a godson or anything. If I leave, your pool of little bastards can't really take care of you when you're old. Eunuch Qin suddenly choked. Why do you always talk nonsense these days? I'm just a lowly eunuch. It's not worth remembering. Empress Dowager Zhuang was never a sad person. She was very calm. How long has Xiaoshan been in Yuzhou? It's time to return to the capital, right? Eunuch Qin wiped his tears and said, Counting the days, it's time to go back. Empress Dowager Zhuang wanted to say something but stopped. Gu Xiaoshan went to Yuzhou before the end of the year. He got married 3 years ago. His wife was the daughter of a scholarly family chosen for him by his great-aunt. Their family lived in the capital and their ancestral home was in Yuzhou. He went to Yuzhou to accompany his wife to worship their ancestors. He was also commissioned by the Ministry of Works to go to Yuzhou to help build a royal garden. He took time to take his wife to Qingchuan village. He had long severed ties with the Gu family. Naturally, he didn't go to visit them. He went to visit his third uncle and third aunt's graves. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered the village, he would meet his mother, Madame Lu. Madame Lu was fetching water at the entrance of the village. She was a lot older. She was in her 40s and had a lot of white hair. A dirty little girl was squatting next to her. The little girl randomly picked up something on the ground and put it into her mouth. When Madame Lu found out, she immediately hit the little girl's hand. Put everything into your mouth. I'll eat you to death. The little girl didn't know if it was because of pain or fear, but she began to cry. You only know how to eat and cry. What else can you do? Madame Lu scolded a few times. The little girl cried even more fiercely. Madame Lu was so angry that she hit her several times. Gu Xiaoshan couldn't help but remember that when he was a child, he was also beaten and scolded by Madame Lu. And because he was naughty and stubborn, Madame Lu beat him especially hard. If the child was disobedient, he would beat him a few times. He wouldn't hate Madame Lu because of this. He was bitterly disappointed with Madame Lu, because Madame Lu never had a son in her heart. Madame Lu only valued Gu Ershun, who was smarter than her and knew how to please people. Husband, what's wrong? His wife Chunyin asked. Nothing, let's go. Gu Xiaoshan helped his wife get out of the carriage. Madame Lu saw him at a glance. Ah, is that Xiaoshan? Auntie Zhao, who had just come over with a basin of clothes, recognized him. Auntie Zhao was very surprised. Oh my God! I almost didn't recognize you. Gu Xiaoshan had changed too much. When he left the village, he was only a 13 or 14-year-old hooligan. He didn't even walk properly. Now he was wearing a brocade robe. He was handsome and elegant. At first glance, he looked like a son of an aristocratic family. The woman wearing a veil next to him was luxurious and elegant. She had a dignified manner. She looked like a daughter of an aristocratic family. Who would dare to recognize him? The villagers came over to watch. Madame Lu looked at Gu Xiaoshan in a daze. The bucket in her hand fell into the well. She couldn't believe her eyes. This man, who was more noble than the county magistrate's son, was really her idiot son? Cough, cough, cough. The accompanying imperial bodyguard was sent by the prefectural magistrate. He was afraid that Master Gu would encounter an accident on the road, so he must carefully protect the safety of the couple. He cleared his throat and politely said to the villagers, "Everyone, please don't push. Master Gu came back to visit his family's grave. Please let him pass." What did you call him? Madame Lu came over and asked. The imperial bodyguard didn't know her. He only thought that she was an ordinary villager. He patiently explained. Master Gu. Master Gu is a popular person in the imperial court. This time, he came to Yuzhou to build a mansion under the imperial decree. The imperial court. Under the imperial decree, Madame Lu almost fainted. If she had known that Gu Xiaoshan was so promising, she wouldn't have sold him for 20 taels. She should have sold him for 200 taels. No, 2,000 taels. No, what did she sell him for? He was an official, so she was the official's mother. That's right, she was the official's mother. She could hold her head high. Stinky boy, you still know to come back. When you went to the capital, you didn't care about me and your father. Your conscience was eaten by a dog. As she spoke, she rushed towards Gu Xiaoshan. But Gu Xiaoshan was no longer the obedient son that she used to know. She was the one who cut off their mother-son relationship. Gu Xiaoshan stepped back. She pounced on empty air. The imperial bodyguard didn't know whether Madame Lu was telling the truth or not, but he saw Master Gu's attitude clearly. He immediately stood in front of Madame Lu. Not long after, Gu Chonglu also heard the news and rushed over. When he saw the current Gu Xiaoshan, he was so shocked that he couldn't say a word. The hooligan that the Gu family looked down on the most suddenly changed and became a popular person in the imperial court. He tried to talk to Gu Xiaoshan, but he was also stopped by the imperial bodyguard. Daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law, I'm your father-in-law. When he saw that Gu Xiaoshan refused to acknowledge him as his father, he hurriedly asked Chunyin for help. Women were soft-hearted. As long as she begged for mercy for him, Xiaoshan would definitely listen. Chunyin didn't even look back. The Gu family didn't have a good life these years. Old Master Gu passed away, leaving behind a mess. The eldest branch and the second branch separated. Gu Dashuan's road to the imperial examinations didn't go smoothly. When the news that Xiao Lulang was the top scorer in the imperial examinations spread to the village, his mentality collapsed. After that, he did worse and worse in the examinations. In order to pay for his imperial examinations, his family owed a large debt. Later, although he found a rice merchant's daughter as his wife, his father-in-law saw that he always failed in the examinations and was unwilling to support him. He had no choice but to become an elementary school teacher in town. He was arrogant and had no patience for students. After being fired several times, no private school would hire him. Back then, the second branch dreamed of letting Gu Ershun take the imperial examinations. They sold Gu Xiaoshan for 20 taels and spent it all on Gu Ershun. In the end, it all went down the drain. Xiaoshan, we're your biological parents. You can't treat us like this. Is there any justice in this world? Aren't you afraid that we'll report you to the yamen? A crime of being unfilial. Let's see if you can still be an official. Do you have any respect for the law? He's my son. My biological son. Gu Xiaoshan pretended that he didn't hear anything. The villagers all knew everything. The matter of the second branch selling off Xiaoshan, who in the surrounding villages did not know. How could a child who was sold out come back to take care of his parents in old age? How shameless. Gu Xiaoshan didn't stay in the village for long. He took his wife to sweep the graves of his third uncle and third aunt, burned incense, and kowtowed for Gu Jiao, Xiao Heng, and the people of Jingkong. In fact, Gu Jiao's room had always been filled with memorial tablets of the third branch of the Gu family. Every year, they would worship them on their death anniversary, Qingming Festival, and New Year's Day. If she was away on an expedition, Xiao Heng would also buy incense and paper money to worship them. Gu Xiaoshan returned to the capital in April. When they were close to the capital, Chen Yun suddenly fainted. Gu Xiaoshan hurriedly sent someone to the capital to deliver the news. Gu Chongqing happened to be in Bishui Alley. I'll take you there. Gu Jiao. Okay. The two went to the courier station outside the southern gate of the capital. Gu Jiao took Chen Yun's pulse. Then she smiled and said to Gu Xiaoshan, Xiao Yin is pregnant. It's too stuffy in the carriage. She'll be fine after resting for a while. Gu Xiaoshan was stunned. I'm going to be a father? They had been married for 3 years, and this was their first child. The joy in his heart was indescribable. When Chen Yin woke up and found out that she was finally pregnant, she was so excited that she almost cried. She had been married for 3 years without a child. She was in despair. Although no one in the family urged her, she always hoped that she could bear a child for her husband. The group of people sat in the carriage. Gu Chongqing rode alone on the side of the carriage. He silently guarded his sister in the carriage, as well as his sister's family. This was an ordinary afternoon. Even the late spring weather was the same as before. This was destined to be an ordinary day. Suddenly, the curtain of the carriage was lifted. Gu Chongqing turned his head to look at his sister who had lifted the curtain. He asked, "Is something the matter?" Gu Jiao looked at him under the sunlight and smiled. "Brother." Gu Chongqing's heart was struck. The afternoon sunlight shone directly into his heart. On the other side, this year's imperial examinations had also finished. When Zhuang Yuheng was exiled, he had been stripped of his scholarly achievements. However, the emperor did not say that he would not be allowed to take the imperial examinations again. He just never appeared in the examination room. It was because of this that Empress Dowager Zhuang understood that he did not want to return to the capital. However, this year, he appeared in the capital's examination hall, and took first place in the palace examination in March. He became the first person in the history of the Zhao country to walk through the main gate of the imperial palace twice, and parade through the streets on horseback. He went to Renshou Palace and knelt on the ground. He kowtowed heavily to Empress Dowager Zhuang. He lowered his eyes and said in a tearful voice, "Great aunt." Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at Zhuang Yuheng, who was over 30 years old and thin. She waved her hand for him to come forward. Zhuang Yuheng held back his sobs and walked forward on his knees. Empress Dowager Zhuang clenched her handkerchief and punched his shoulder. She punched again and again. Her eyes were red and her throat was swollen. "You just came back. You just came back." In May, Xiao Heng handled a vicious bribery case that involved more than half of the Hanlin Academy. Although there were no fish in the clear water, there was a limit to everything. More than half of the Hanlin Academy's officials were involved. This was an extremely terrifying matter. When the results of the investigation came out, Xiao Heng never expected that the mastermind behind the scenes would be the current Hanlin Academy scholar. In the prison cell, the scholar of the Hanlin Academy confessed to his crimes. He accepted bribes and manipulated the examination of the scholars. He enrolled the scholars with low scores into the Hanlin Academy and falsified their qualifications and political achievements so that they could enter the 6 ministries. In the interrogation room, Xiao Heng, who was wearing a purple official's robe, sat on a chair. He looked at the scholar of the Hanlin Academy opposite him with a complicated expression. "Why?" Ning Ziyuan smiled bitterly. "Lulang, not everyone is born in the clouds. I'm just an ant from a poor family. I don't know how much effort it takes to climb up step by step. I'm not afraid of suffering, But sometimes, suffering is useless. I know you want to say that you also relied on yourself to get to where you are today. I admit this. No matter how the world misunderstands you, I always believed that you relied on your own talent. But Lulang, I don't have your talent. I had an ambition that didn't match my talent. I didn't keep my heart. Xiao Heng calmly walked out of the prison of the Ministry of Justice. Many years ago, in a certain room of the Hanlin Academy, Ning Ziyuan patted him on the shoulder and said with great ambition, "Don't look at me because I was born in a poor family. I have no background and no connections. Sometimes I dream that one day I can climb up. I don't need to climb too high. Becoming a 5th-rank Hanlin Academy scholar is my life's dream." He clenched his fists, as if he wanted to force out the contempt he had suffered along the way from his bones. "I'm thinking, when I have such a day, when I take charge of the Hanlin Academy, I will not appoint people for their money, for their connections, and for their obedience. I will not allow people to make trouble for me." A bolt of lightning flashed. A hole seemed to be opened in the sky and rain poured down. He stared at the endless rain, a trace of confusion flashing through his eyes. After a while, his eyes regained their firmness. He opened the umbrella and walked into the rain with firm steps. Empress Dowager Zhuang's health had been fluctuating this year, sometimes good and sometimes bad. She couldn't eat the candied plums and jujubes that Gu Jiao and the old chancellor had personally made for her. She had accumulated a lot of candied plums. Xianyuan she sat at her bedside and said softly, "Great aunt, eat as much as you want. I won't tell Jiao Jiao." Empress Dowager Zhuang smiled. "Where's my little granddaughter-in-law?" Xianyuanshi's ears turned slightly red. Empress Dowager Zhuang snorted. "You're the same as your brother-in-law. Don't learn from him. You've been married for so many years before you can eat it." In August, Gu Jiao brought Xuanningsiang and Gouhua from the countryside. Gouhua was a year and a half younger than Jing Kong. He was 14 this year, and was a handsome young man. Empress Dowager Zhuang lay on the soft phoenix bed, and looked at the figure walking towards her in the light. She asked weakly, "Is it Xiangxiang?" Xuanningsiang knelt on the ground, and held her great-aunt's hand. She choked with sobs. "It's me, great-aunt, it's me." "Where's Gouhua?" Empress Dowager Zhuang asked. Gouhua stood beside Xuanningsiang, but her eyesight was no longer good. Xuanningsiang felt like a knife was being twisted in her heart. She pulled her son aside. "Gouhua, quickly kowtow to the Empress Dowager." Gouhua knelt down and kowtowed 3 times to the Empress Dowager Zhuang. "Why do you keep kowtowing? You're hurting the child." Empress Dowager Zhuang took out a piece of sesame candy from under her pillow and handed it to him. "Gouhua, eat." Gouhua loved sesame candy the most when he was young. Xuanningsiang covered her mouth and cried uncontrollably. Gu Jiao brought the 3 little ones to live in Renshou Palace. "You're not noisy," Empress Dowager Zhuang occasionally said to the 3 little ones. "Your uncle from Jing Kong was really noisy when he was young." It wasn't that the 3 little ones weren't noisy, but they were very quiet in front of her. Even Xiao Yan, the little loudspeaker, sensibly suppressed her natural instincts and primitive strength. Xiao Heng, Xianyuanshi, Gu Xiaoshan, Gu Yan, and Gu Xiaobao also visited her every day. Gu Chongqing and Gu Chengfeng also came often. It was worth mentioning that Gu Chongqing and Yuan Baolin had a daughter, but Gu Chongqing still believed that he was fulfilling the agreement. Yuan Baolin told him, "A woman needs a son to live the rest of her life peacefully." The one-track-minded Gu Chongqing began to fulfill the agreement to give Yuan Baolin a son. Gu Jiao was shocked when she learned about this. She never expected Gu Chongqing to be so one-track-minded. She asked Yuan Baolin, "What if you have a son? How will you coax him into bed?" Yuan Baolin raised her chin and said, "Then I'll tell him that a son is too lonely. If anything happens in the future, he won't have a brother to support him. You see, you have 5 brothers." Gu Jiao silently gave a thumbs up. Empress Dowager Zhuang was asked about her well-being by everyone in the room. She hummed and said, "Don't you have something to do?" The old chancellor also came. However, he always stayed there quietly and didn't say anything. Empress Dowager Zhuang couldn't see, so she naturally didn't know he came. In the 12th month, Empress Dowager Zhuang's memory deteriorated, and she often called the wrong person. She would call Xiao Xianjing Kong and Gu Xiaobao Gu Yan. She also asked Gu Jiao where Xiaoshan went and whether Lulang went to the prefectural city for the exam again. She listened to the snow outside the window and said, "It's cold. Did Lulang bring enough clothes? The exam shed in Yuzhou is cold, unlike the capital." "He brought enough." Gu Jiao said, "Great Aunt, don't worry. Xiaoshan went to the academy for lessons." Great Aunt pulled the banknote in her hand and touched Gu Jiao's hand. "Give it to him for me. He fell out with the Gu family and went to live in the academy. He can't be full easily." Gu Jiao took the banknote. "Okay, I'll go to town to get it for him. Do you want to eat candied fruit? You can eat as many as you want today." Empress Dowager Zhuang closed her eyes and fell asleep. Gu Jiao quietly lay down beside her, pulled open her arms, and gently buried her head in her arms. On New Year's Eve, Xianyuan Shi welcomed his 16th birthday and Xiao Heng also welcomed his 30th year. Empress Dowager Zhuang was in good spirits. When she got up, she ate 6 candied fruits in one breath, which made eunuch Qin very happy. Originally, the birthday banquet was to be held in Renshou Palace, but Empress Dowager Zhuang wanted to play the leaf card, so the family returned to Bishui Alley. Empress Dowager Zhuang, Auntie Lu, Granny Zhou, and Auntie Lu gathered at the table. Since Great Aunt's eyesight deteriorated, Gu Jiao made the leaf card into mahjong, which could be touched with hands. The old chancellor stood behind Great Aunt and served her tea obediently. He also handed over his private savings. Empress Dowager Zhuang raised her eyebrows and snorted. "I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you lose less." The neighbors actually wanted to go easy on her, but they found that there was no need. Even if the old lady became like this, she still beat the whole Bishui Alley. The neighbors lost miserably. Yao Shi was making pastries in the kitchen, and Princess Xinyang went to learn from her. Gu Xiaobao and Xiao Yi, the 2 older children, led a few younger ones to set off firecrackers in the alley. Xianyuan Shi didn't join in the fun. He moved a chair behind Empress Dowager Zhuang, and gently rested his delicate chin on her shoulder. Empress Dowager Zhuang said with disgust, "What? Is it sticky?" "That's right, sticky, go away." Gu Yan came over and pushed Xianyuan Shi away, leaning on Great Aunt's shoulder. Empress Dowager Zhuang exploded. "You're 27. What is this? You don't want to find a wife. Xiaoshuan's son can already buy soy sauce." Xiaoshuan's baby, who was still in her stomach. Gu Yan stuck to her and said, "Then you can talk to my mother and let me marry you, ya." Empress Dowager Zhuang rolled her eyes and thought, "You're talking nonsense. This kind of thing depends on fate. How can everyone be happy?" She only wanted him to live and he did it. She had nothing to be dissatisfied with. She pushed the cards in front of her and said, "Draw win." In the afternoon, Empress Dowager Zhuang slept in her room for a while. Xianyuan Shi also lay down to accompany Great Aunt. "When I was young, did you really want to sleep with me? You always dragged me to your room." Empress Dowager Zhuang said coldly, "That's because I want a little great-grandson." Xianyuan Shi said, "I don't care, you just like me." Empress Dowager Zhuang. Such a shameless person. "Xiao Ji, give me back that shy little monk." Xianyuan Shi wanted to tease Great Aunt, but he really fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already dark. He called Great Aunt beside him. Great Aunt didn't respond. He was so scared that his face changed. "Great Aunt," Empress Dowager Zhuang said lightly, "what are you arguing about? Do you think I'm going?" Xianyuan Shi hurriedly said, "That's not what I meant." Empress Dowager Zhuang lazily said, "Don't worry, today is New Year's Eve. I won't leave on New Year's Eve. I won't turn Yuan Aheng's birthday into the anniversary of my death. How sad would that be?" On the first day of the new year, a large family from Baishui Lane entered the palace to give her a New Year's greeting. She held Gu Jiao's hand and had Gu Jiao take good care of eunuch Qin. Empress Dowager Zhuang passed away on the 3rd day of the 1st month. She had been in good spirits for the past few days, and her memories were no longer in chaos. Everyone thought that she had gotten better, but nobody expected that she would sleep and never wake up again. She passed away in her sleep, and she left very peacefully. She didn't leave behind any last words. She just heard Eunuch Qin say that she took out a book of poems that she had written before she got married, and looked at it. Empress Dowager Zhuang had been in power for dozens of years. The people only remembered her fierce and overbearing methods, but they forgot that she had once been a gentle daughter of a noble family. She had dedicated her life to the country of Zhao. She had countless opportunities to completely leave the imperial family and live a carefree life outside. But she didn't do this. It was for the sake of the country, and it was also for the sake of her children not being shamed because of her. The imperial palace was a cage that had imprisoned her for her entire life. The Empress Dowager had passed away, and according to the ancestral rules, she would be buried in the imperial mausoleum with the previous emperor. Xiao Heng submitted a memorial, requesting that a separate tomb be built for Empress Dowager Zhuang. It was not in the name of Empress Dowager Zhuang, but in the name of Zhuang Jinsei. She had been imprisoned while alive, but she had to be freed after death. On the day that the tomb was built, Gu Jiao, Xiao Heng, Jing Kong, Gu Yan, Gu Xiaoshan, Gu Xiaobao, Gu Changqing, and Zhuang Yuheng came to support the coffin of their grandaunt. Their grandaunt did not leave behind any children in this world, but they were all grandaunt's children. If there is an afterlife, I hope that you will not enter the imperial family. Digression. Everyone's comments seem to be about wanting to read about the Godfather and the small medicine chest. Then I will try to write about it. The time of the update is uncertain. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896/10398177. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 1004. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. Galaxy K93. In the vast and boundless universe, a silver-white spaceship was nimbly shuttling through a dark red asteroid belt. The celestial bodies that looked small through the telescope were actually huge, and they had their own trajectories. Plus, the spaceship itself was moving faster than light. It looked like a very dangerous dodging game. But this wasn't a problem for it. After all, it wasn't an ordinary spaceship, but the strongest battleship of the Imperial Marshal. It had accompanied the Imperial Marshal through the long and glorious years of war, setting the pinnacle of the entire galaxy, and even the entire Federation. There were many rumors about it. Some said that it was a battleship that the Imperial Marshal spent a lot of money to get someone to custom make it. Some said that it was a secret weapon that the Imperial Marshal's grandfather left him. But there were also rumors that it was originally a nanny robot, the kind that made milk for the little Marshal and changed his diapers. The cute AI's voice sounded, and it seemed to be a little excited. Obstacles can't be avoided. The elimination plan will be implemented. Do you want to stop it? The man sitting on the back of the chair with his eyes closed didn't even lift his eyelids. The AI's voice became even more excited. The elimination plan is officially activated. Warm reminder. Halfway through the sentence, the man casually raised a hand that was still slender and beautiful even though he was wearing white gloves. With a click, he fastened the safety buckle on the back of the chair. The AI made a satisfied mechanical sound like an old father. Baby is so obedient. The man's thin lips opened slightly. Call me baby again and I'll smash you. It was unknown if it was threatened, but the AI really didn't say anything. However, it didn't give up and flashed a line of words on the screen, as if to show its last bit of unyielding will. Can't be smashed. The man still had his eyes closed, but he seemed to have guessed its little action. He said calmly, cancel the autopilot. The AI admitted defeat in a second. Marshall is so awesome. Next, it began to focus on eliminating the unavoidable asteroids. Under normal circumstances, the Federation's battleships wouldn't randomly destroy celestial bodies in the universe. However, this mission was urgent and they couldn't care less about the Federation's laws. At the same time, on an orange planet, a total of 30 battleships were ready to set off. This was a newly risen group of space pirates in the star system. Most of them were fugitives who had escaped from prison. They had already successfully robbed 10 space supply stations of the Federation and 2 supply planets of the Empire. The Federation attached great importance to this matter and had once sent a legion to encircle and annihilate them. However, there were traitors among them who were very familiar with the Federation's battleships and fighting style. They did not fight head-on and fled after firing a shot. They were extremely cunning. The Federation had a huge headache over this. Recently, they had set their eyes on another supply planet controlled by the Will family, and were planning to take action tonight. However, before they could set off, a dark spaceship suddenly appeared in the dark night sky above their heads. It slowed down after entering the planet's atmosphere, and hovered steadily above the 30 battleships. The first to discover it was a gun-wielding sentinel. At first, he thought that it was their accomplice, but later he found out that it wasn't because the bottom of the black battleship was impressively printed with a huge federal military emblem. It's a Federation battleship. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Everyone was on their guard. Just like Shi, they found it inconceivable. What about their defense system? Did it fail? Why was there no interception or warning? Why did they let this battleship barge in, as if it was unmanned? The galactic pirate leader gave the order to prepare for battle. How many battleships are there in total? The pilot at the side said in a daze. 1. The Federation only sent 1 battleship? The galactic pirate leader was dumbfounded. One had to know that the Federation had sent out the same number of battleships, but they were still unable to annihilate them. Could it be that the Federation was not here to fight with them, but to negotiate? At this point he smiled smugly. Then there's nothing to be afraid of. Destroy it. Negotiate? That was impossible. He gave the order, but there was no response from the other battleships. He frowned. What's going on? The pilot pointed at the battleship in the sky in horror. Look. The battleship in the sky started to light up in large patches. Its black outer shell was like a layer of scales that had been flipped over. Layers of dazzling silver light appeared. Along with this unforeseen event, its enormous body was revealed before everyone. The galactic pirate leader's body shook. This is the #1 battleship in the Federation's galaxy that accompanied the Empire's marshal to conquer the entire Federation. World Terminator. Through the spacious viewing window of the battleship, a man in a black uniform looked down at everyone from above. This was the most handsome man in the entire Empire, but also the most brutal and cold-blooded man. He was tall, and his uniform fitted him perfectly. Even the buttons were buttoned up to the top of his collar. He was strict and ascetic. His skin was deathly pale under the cold light. He held a golden scepter with the star of the Empire in his hands. This was a symbol of his status and also a signal of death. The Empire's marshal was not here to negotiate. He was here to annihilate the pirates. The kind that did not leave anyone alive. The galactic pirate leader, who was still feeling smug a second ago, was completely panicking at this moment. Didn't the Empire's marshal go on an expedition to the K-34b galaxy? He would not be back for at least a few decades. Why did he? If the Empire's marshal had not left, they would not have dared to rob the Federation's supply planet and space station, even if they had 100 guts. What should we do? What should we do? The galactic pirate leader broke out in cold sweat. Not only him, but the rest of the galactic pirates were also scared silly. This was the Empire's youngest general, the only marshal in the entire galaxy, who had intimidated the entire Federation. He was born into a fallen aristocrat and had the lowest resources, but he still managed to carve out a bloody path for himself in the Federation. No one dared to go against him. Run. Run quickly. It was unknown who shouted this, but everyone seemed to have woken up from a dream. They all jumped onto the battleship and prepared to escape. The Empire's marshal looked coldly at the galactic pirates who had killed countless civilians. It was as if he was looking at a group of ants who did not know where to go. The Terminator is requesting to execute orders. The AI's mechanical voice became cold and domineering. The Empire's young master marshal said word by word, "Extermination plan execute." The AI's mechanical voice sounded again. "Extermination plan is about to begin. Civilians, please evacuate. Extermination plan is about to begin. Civilians, please evacuate. Extermination plan is about to begin. Civilians, please evacuate." Countdown begins. A row of blinking numbers appeared in the boundless starry sky. It was a 2-minute countdown. The galactic pirates were extremely fast. In just a minute, they had already left in their respective battleships. At superluminal speed, they could travel to several planets in a minute. Even though there were no longer any battleships on the ground, the countdown in the night sky continued. Until the last second, the Terminator began to chase after the fleeing battleships. 30 seconds later, the universe returned to peace. In the cockpit, the Terminator's AI resumed its cute mechanical voice. "Baby, it's time to eat. Tonight's dinner is very sumptuous." However, the Empire's marshal did not manage to eat this dinner. On their way back, they encountered the collapse of a star. This huge star had collapsed for a long time, and had been relatively stable. It was estimated that it would burn for at least 100,000 years. However, for some unknown reason, it had burned out prematurely. In the last few seconds, it suddenly collapsed to form a black hole. The Terminator was captured by the black hole's gravitational force. An alarm that had never been sounded before sounded in the cockpit. They could not return. Star System K-93. The Empire's marshal calmly welcomed his death. He had gone on expeditions everywhere. There would be a day when he would die on the way. He stroked the control panel and said softly, "Terminator, your service ends here. You are the glory of the Empire." The AI was silent for a long time. Then it said solemnly, "Marshal, you too." The next second, it said calmly, "Hibernation chamber activated." The interior of the cockpit changed rapidly. The original visual window disappeared, and was replaced by a wall with a screen. A luxurious hibernation chamber that could supply people for hundreds of years rose from the ground. The Empire's marshal frowned. "Terminator, what are you doing?" The AI sounded very calm. "Hibernation chamber separated. Medical cabin activated. Weapons cabin ready to attack. Welcome the black hole's gravitational force. Goodbye, Marshal." As soon as it finished speaking, a terrifying impact swept through the entire hibernation chamber. The Empire's marshal's brain waves vibrated to the extreme. Then a strong sense of dizziness hit him, and he lost consciousness. On the screen, a few lines of words flashed. Habitable planet captured. Positioning: Virgo supercluster, Milky Way Earth. Digression: little first aid kit. I'm a person who's served the army. Give me some mysterious energy. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels to read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428266/1038988737. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bkuj mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 1005. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. The Marshal woke up in a warm ocean. The first thing he did when he opened his eyes was to call for the Terminator. Following the sound of air leaking, The hibernation pod above his head slowly opened. The gentle AI voice sounded. The medical pod is at your service. You have slept for a total of 1,221 days. Welcome to your awakening. We will now conduct a full body checkup for you. He lay motionless in the hibernation pod, allowing waves of red light to scan his body. The AI said, "Checkup complete. Your vital signs are normal. Overall evaluation, excellent. You are indeed the most powerful marshal in the Empire. Awesome." This was the voice and program set by the Terminator. However, the marshal knew that it did not have the consciousness of the Terminator. The consciousness of the Terminator would forever remain in the battleship that was engulfed by the black hole. The rumors were right. The Terminator was initially a nanny robot that accompanied him through his lonely and bullied growth period. After he modified his own battleship, he retained the intelligence of the nanny robot. This led to the creation of the Terminator. And the Terminator seemed to have awakened its own consciousness through the modifications and updates. "Baby, today is also a day for you to eat obediently." The AI's cute voice sounded in the medical pod. This was also one of the programs set by the Terminator after it had awakened its consciousness. The Terminator was unbelievably huge. Its medical pod was also huge. It would take at least an hour to walk through every corner. Of course, the marshal was not so free. As he ate his dinner, he connected the medical pod's equipment to the planet's data. This planet called Earth was at the stage of a first-level civilization. It had yet to develop the energy of the other planets in its galaxy. The life forms on Earth had very low energy levels, and their lifespans were only a few hundred years. After they died, it was almost impossible for them to feed back to the habitable zone. The K93 galaxy also had all kinds of life forms. They were also called humans. The difference was that the life forms on K93 had extremely long lifespans and high energy levels. After they died, they would disintegrate and the energy they contained would feed back to the entire galaxy. After learning more about Earth, he roughly compared the differences between himself and the people on Earth. He was probably equivalent to a teenager on Earth. In the hibernation chamber, people would not grow. Not counting that period of time, he was actually more than 30 years old. However, in the K93 galaxy, where lifespans were extremely long, those under 35 years old were considered young. If he hadn't lied about his age when he went to the imperial capital to join the army, he wouldn't have been able to get in. He learned more about the people on Earth, and then began to check the medical cabin's reserves. The AI reported in an orderly manner. When it read, "The hibernation chamber is operating normally," he was stunned. He had already come out, so why was the hibernation chamber still running? "Which hibernation chamber?" he asked. The AI said, "Hibernation chamber number 2. The general opened the number 2 hibernation cabin and saw a baby inside. It was only then that he remembered that he had passed by a supply planet that had been robbed by space pirates a few days before he left the K93 galaxy. It was there that he had picked up a dying child. The baby was too weak and had been lying in the healing chamber the entire time. When the Terminator was born, the healing chamber automatically entered hibernation mode and became the number 2 hibernation chamber. The AI said, "Vital signs are weak. Do you want to switch to the healing chamber and continue the treatment?" The Imperial Marshal looked at the sleeping baby. This was perhaps the only companion from the K93 galaxy. "Switch," he said. The medical cabin sat on top of a mountain. As it was hidden in another space, no one here could see it. The general walked out of the medical cabin and planned to go down the mountain for a walk. Unexpectedly, the gravity here was different from that of K93, and he fell to the ground. The general hadn't been in such a sorry state for a long time. Just as he struggled to get up, he heard a quarrel nearby. He had already learned the language of this area and could understand what they were arguing about. It was a young man and woman. The woman, with her big belly, grabbed the man's arm and said through gritted teeth, "You have to make things clear today. What is going on between you and that woman?" The man coldly withdrew his arm and said impatiently, "Can you not be unreasonable?" The woman raised her phone angrily. "I am unreasonable? Surnamed Gu. I caught you in the act." The man looked at the photo on the phone and frowned. When did you secretly take this? The woman coldly said, Do I need to secretly take a photo? You two are so open and aboveboard. You are just short of living in my house. The man bluntly said, Don't talk nonsense. We are not in the kind of relationship you think we are. We are just colleagues who had a meal together. Don't be so suspicious. It's getting late. I should go back to the company. You can take a taxi back yourself. After saying that, he left the woman behind and walked to the top of the mountain. The parking lot was probably on the other side of the mountain. The woman angrily chased after him. Surnamed Gu. I am pregnant, and you are planning to leave me here alone. The two of them pulled and tugged at each other, until the woman accidentally bumped into the Imperial Marshal when they brushed past him. Because he hadn't adapted to Earth's gravity, the general couldn't avoid it. The woman's ring cut the back of his hand and fresh blood flowed out. The woman didn't apologize. He looked at the blood on the woman's ring and said in the local language, Give me the ring. Scram. I have to compensate you with a ring for bumping into you. In your dreams. Where did this little rascal come from? The woman scolded. She wanted to say where did this little rascal come from, but when she saw the excessively handsome face of the youth, she suddenly choked. The youth was tall and wore a neat black uniform. His whole body emitted an ascetic and strict aura. The woman was stunned. Just at this moment, the man walked away. The woman didn't have time to pay attention to the youth in the military uniform and quickly chased after him. He looked at the woman's gradually disappearing back and deeply frowned. You better not get hurt. Unfortunately, the woman was injured in the process of stopping the man from getting on the car. 2 months later, a white and chubby baby girl was born. Her cries were loud and clear, and she was more beautiful than ordinary newborns. Her family gave her a pleasant name, Gu Jiao. Digression. All children under 35 years old are cubs. Longy haha. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/1038843335. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bkuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.